bro. And you know what? When we saw him live, bro, he's bald now, and I swear to God, this motherfucker looks like Darth Vader at the end of Return of the Jedi, where he takes the helmet off, because he's just like pale and smooth and bald and pale, and I swear to God, dude looks like fucking Darth Vader, dude. And he was wearing like Sith clothing too, so it really upped the ante on it, you know? Fuck. Anyways, he tried to own a wrestling company. Oh, based. Let's go. Better than whatever his fucking name is. The guy that the guy that raped. What was his fucking name? The guy that owns the WWE. Oh shit. Someone will know it. Oh, okay, let's see what this is. U.S. support for LGBTQ rights is declining after decades of support. Here's why. Yeah, I'll tell you exactly why this is. Okay, Vince McMahon, thank you. I'll tell you exactly why this is. The reason why there's a declining support for LGBTQ rights is because everyone can agree on basic fundamental things, right? People could get behind, you know, gay people not being discriminated against at work. And then people could get behind, you know, gay people being able to marry. And all these things are like pretty easy moral questions, right? Should we discriminate against someone just because they're gay? Yeah, no, probably not. Most people are okay with gay people. But in the past, I want to say like 6-7 years, maybe 8 years, dude, the activist class, the people that push the hardest, have pushed too hard. Like, this is one of the arguments that I always argued against when I was a socialist. But like, yeah, you can push too hard, right? Diversity of tactics is fine so far as you have like a shared end goal with, you know, a shared understanding of what that end goal entails, right? But when your end goal is, say, something as vague as trans liberation, when your end goal is so vague and so broad and so grand that it could mean anything and nobody can agree on what the end point is, then it turns into a bunch of infighting and people going even further. And there's no end point to what you're asking for. And when there's no end point to what you're asking for, it kind of seems to people who are not gay, who are on the outside of like the whole activist situation and outside of politics, feels like they're asking to be put above everybody else. Now, if we're good faith and we understand how people operate, you know, we can understand, yeah, they're not asking to be above everybody else, except for those that are. But for the most part, they're not. And it lowers people's support of your group because you're asking for the entire world when you should set, all right, here's what this is kind of like what you should do in your everyday life. Instead of saying, I want to be a millionaire, and then striving to be a millionaire, but not having any steps along the way, right? You got to have like, okay, so first I'm going to earn my degree, and then I'm going to get my feet wet in this industry. Then I'm going to open up my own business. Then by 5 years, I want to be at this place. By 10 years, I want to be at this place, right? Like that's the sort of thing that you should do in your everyday life. You should set plans, and this is where I want to be at this point, right? And then adjust your plans as time goes on. The activist groups right now, especially on the farther left than I am, it feels like their goal is the world. They have no discernible means by which to get there, except for, like, depending on who you ask, like revolution, and it makes everyone around you fucking hate you, right? Just like even people on the right fucking hate extremists who go out and do mass shootings. Even they don't like those people, right? Now, oh, for your point, news Gallup poll. Ooh, we love Gallup. Do you think marriages between same-sex couples should or should not be recognized by the law as valid with the same rights as traditional? Should be valid, should not be valid. Okay. When was it that it was it 2015 or was it 20 fuck, I actually don't know the answer. Was it 20 it must have been like 2015. When was gay marriage legalized? 2015. Yeah, I remember it had to be around then because I was working at this store and my manager was a lesbian, and I think either someone brought it up at work or she got the news while we were at work and she like actually like cried with happiness, right? Which was like, damn, that's like they just want to be recognized as having the same rights as everybody else. They just want to be recognized as people, right? So 2015 should be valid, 61. And see, up to this point right here, I feel like people have a lot of what is the word? A lot of respect, or they support like regular gay couples for lack of, or like the typical gay experience, I guess. To not put the wrong connotation on the word, like typical. So like a man and a man, a woman and a woman, even if they're still like the underlying like, ew, gross, gay guy, right? They still broadly support gay people, right? But then we start getting into more and more esoteric things like trans issues or non-binary or like gendered issues. And then it gets a little bit more complicated and people don't really understand. And I think that if like the activists who are out there pushing for trans rights or pushing for acceptance for trans people or legislation to protect trans people, I feel like if they went down the same path as gay people did, right? Where you slowly get people to accept you in society, right? And it's not like trans people are starting from fucking zero, okay? Let's be clear. Gay people and like the whole the broader LGBT crew, they started from fucking zero. But over time, like in terms of like sexuality, gay people and lesbians started getting more and more accepted in society. You could make the argument that they kind of left trans people behind on that one in order to protect themselves. But that aside, they slowly just ingratiated themselves in society, and like there were a lot of just very normal gay people. There were a lot of normal gay people in media, in TV shows, in real life. It became less stigmatized to be gay, and they just acted normal, and they didn't like scream at people fucking constantly, right? Which does not ingratiate you to them. And they eventually got broad acceptance. Look at this. 2023 of May 2023, 71% still believe that gay people should be able to get married and it should be recognized as law. Now, I wonder if there's a question on here, or is this only about... Okay, this is LGBT. Let me see here. Gays and lesbians. I wonder if they have any questions. Next, I'm going to read you a list of issues. Okay. So, in general, it is morally acceptable or morally wrong. How about gay or lesbian relationship? So morally acceptable, pretty much rocking that high. Oh my gosh, that's actually kind of sad. 1 year later, and they dropped what, 7 points, bro. But and this is, I'm sorry, this is like the fuck. I'm so conscious of getting clipped, but this is what it is. Like, gay people got accepted in society, and then the trans activists, instead of taking the cues and looking at the successes of, you know, the civil rights movement or the gay rights movement, they decided to go down a completely third path, and it's hurting like gay and lesbian couples. Like, look at this. Lowest it's been since 2019. Anyways, so still pretty high, right? Now, changing one's gender. Morally acceptable, 43% of this year. It's dropped from 46 in 2021. Morally wrong, 55%. That's up from 2021. Depends. I want to know what it means by depends. I would say it's not a moral issue whatsoever, but let's see what the next question is. Do you think transgender athletes should be able to play on sport teams that match their current gender identity, or should only be allowed to play on sports teams that match their birth gender? Only birth gender. Very high. Why is this? Again, I think it's the tactics that, especially around like the topic of gender, activists around the topic of gender are, I don't even know what their goal is. I don't know what their goal is. Nobody knows what their goal is, but everyone from the activists are screaming at people that XYZ is happening, and maybe X is happening, Y is kind of happening, but Z is absolutely not happening. And so when people look at trans issues and they see X, Y, and Z, and they see that Z is completely false, let's say, I don't know, like a trans genocide, right? An ongoing trans genocide in the United States. And people say, well, Z isn't happening. Why the fuck would I believe, like, Y is like not even really completely true. Why would I believe X at all? Right? I think that they're just going about it in the absolute fucking worst way possible for their own cause. Anyways.
For the last few
Let's see what this is.
The story of LGBTQ plus rights in America has been one of increasing public support. But now a new survey finds that for the first time in years, there's...
Oh, 1 second. The invalid are basically the evangelicals. I just saw the population. Oh, for this, it should be invalidated. Well, yeah. Fuck evangelicals. Gay people in media is woke, bro. Well, here's the thing. It doesn't have to be. Like, I understand that not everything that has to do with gay people is woke, but sometimes, even as a liberal, I'm like, okay, this is a little bit shoehorned in. Okay, this is a little much for me. But anyways, let's watch this.
For the last few decades, the story of LGBTQ plus rights in America has been one of increasing public support. But now a new survey finds that for the first time in years, there's a slight decline in that support. William Brangham takes a closer look.
Throughout 2023, the Public Religion Research Institute, or PRRI, interviewed over 22,000 adults for what it calls its American Values Atlas. Last week, the organization released its findings on views about LGBTQ rights in the U.S. The survey showed, for the first time, support fell for key policies regarding LGBTQ rights. Backing for same-sex marriage dropped 2 percentage points. Support for non-discrimination protections dropped 4 points. And opposition to people refusing services based on religious grounds dropped 5 points. To help us understand this data, we are joined by CEO of PRRI, Melissa Deckman. You have been doing this survey for years, and this being the first time you've seen a downward tick in those numbers, how do you explain that?
Yeah, we were somewhat surprised to see after several years of increasing support among Americans for LGBTQ rights that we saw a decline. But I think if you look under the hood, so to speak, and look at the data more closely, it's really largely driven by party polarization. And so we saw much deeper declines, for example, among Republicans in terms of their support for these issues, whereas Democrats tended to stay relatively stable. And I think what's happening is that you see many Republican leaders in red states really trying to amp up the volume, so to speak, on LGBTQ rights and really trying to
Who the fuck is
really
this? Who is this fucking Yzma? Fucking. I'm sorry, but like, is it not? Is it not Yzma? Sorry. Anyways, I need to not make fun of people's looks because it doesn't like make a point or anything, but I can't help myself.
The volume, so to speak, on LGBTQ rights and really trying to claw back some of those rights across the country. And I think that's had a spillover effect nationally in terms of the attitudes of Republicans, especially on issues with respect to LGBTQ rights.
In your survey, you're talking to people who both affiliate with a particular religion and also non-religious people as well, correct?
That's right. So our surveys are done among Americans nationally.
I think I don't disagree with what she's saying here. Of course, there's going to be a certain amount of change in polling, depending on what the leaders of what any particular party says about a topic, right? People look to their leaders for guidance on things, right? Whether they say they do or say they don't, they absolutely do. And it can absolutely change your perception on things. I think that the point that I was making earlier still stands because I don't think that they would have ammunition to say the things that they are saying if the like trans activists didn't absolutely fucking put themselves in that position all the fucking time to get dunked on. Like, think about does anybody remember the what was it, r/no work, anti-work, Fox News, this fucking interview, bro?
The truth matters, which is why holding people accountable has been a major theme of the show. We didn't really cover this story on your website, Perez. Why?
We did.
Did you? I didn't see
this
it on
isn't.
there. Why?
Hold on, this isn't the one I'm thinking of. Is this the person right here?
Not for collusion.
The target, the owning.
Great. There's so many reactions to the fucking interview that I can't find the actual interview. Fuck my life. Anyways, like the anti-work subreddit is just a bunch of communists that don't want to go to work and don't want to do anything. And so they got dunked on super hard by everybody because they don't make an effort to increase their lot in life whatsoever. They don't try to learn any new skills. They don't think that anyone should have to work. I don't know. I could probably steel man them, but I don't want to because it's so fucking cringe.
Great thing about the AVA is we also have enough data to look at opinions in all 50 states. But essentially, we get a snapshot of all Americans, including people of faith and people who are unaffiliated. I think it's also important to bear in mind that despite these declines that we've seen, the vast majority of people of faith continue to support the rights of LGBT Americans, especially with respect to same-sex marriage and non-discrimination laws.
So for someone who might look at this and think, oh, a 2% decline or a 5% decline is not that substantial, why does this really stand out to you?
I think it stands out because with respect to LGBT rights more generally, there has been a growing increase in support among Americans. And part of that is a reflection of the fact that more Americans, especially younger Americans, are identifying as LGBTQ. So younger Americans, more Americans have friends who are LGBTQ, they themselves are LGBTQ, they have colleagues. So there has been this assumption that as we become more, I think, accepting of LGBT Americans in our daily lives, that it would just naturally lend itself to people being more supportive of protecting the rights of LGBT Americans. But I think this data shows you that that's not necessarily an assumption that is true. And so it's something important to monitor and keep aware of.
I mean, is it perhaps also possible that as people start to identify more publicly and assert their rights and take a more prominent place in society, that we could be seeing the traces of a backlash here?
I think that's exactly what you're seeing. One of the things
I don't even maybe for me, I'm trying to think. I don't think that I have like a naive view of like human nature or of how people operate. I don't think that people are naturally hateful. And I don't think that people are just like inclined to want to be cruel to someone else, right? I think that people I think that it's kind of like my attitude when I debate people, right? Like I'll be like super chill and I'll be super good faith and I'll have like a totally chill conversation with someone. But if they start opening up the door for insults, okay? If they want to open up the door for me to start shitting on them after they shit on me, then I'll start shitting on them. I'll stop being nice when they stop being nice to me. And I think that when we look at the way activists have been going about things, they're very explicitly trying to get a rise out of people. They're very explicitly trying to get under people's skin, right? And we see this all the fucking time. They say like, oh, well, people should be made to feel uncomfortable. People should be made to feel uncomfortable when they're presented with these facts, right? We want people to be uncomfortable. And I think that, like I said earlier, diversity of tactics can be a good thing, but you have to have a goal with every single fucking thing that you do. And if your goal is just to trigger the fuck out of conservatives, yeah, you can do that by talking about how much gay butt sex you want to have. You can do that by like talking about how much you loved chopping off your dick or your titties or whatever, right? Which, you know, if you want to do that, that's totally fine. And if it's something that you need because you're trans, like I'm 100% in support of it. But let's not pretend like it's not just you getting catharsis against people that are not supportive of you as a human being. Let's not pretend like you're doing anything grand or good or amazing by being just as hateful or weird or triggery as the people that hate you. Let's not pretend like this is the tactic that's going to pull trans people and LGBT people out of the hole of oppression, you know?
That we analyze in the report is we look at the relationship between Christian nationalist views and support for LGBT rights. As you might imagine, Americans who have
also Christian nationalism absolutely should be made fun of until all those people shut the fuck up and go away forever. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm so tired of listening to people talk about fucking Christian nationalism. Jesus.
the tendency to support Christian nationalism are far less likely to support the rights of LGBT Americans, in part because of a theological opposition to the idea of really homosexuality and being queer to begin with. And so I think that there's that important relationship there that we have to really keep in mind.
Can you talk about, are there other below the top lines here, other data points that were of interest to you?
We were really surprised in our findings that younger Americans have trended downward with respect to support for LGBTQ rights. If you look at our data, we find that roughly 1 in 5 Americans age 18 to 29 identify as LGBTQ. But yet what's happened over the past couple of years is that there's been a slight decline among younger Americans. I think the assumption was that because younger Americans are more likely to identify as queer, that we'd always have younger Americans being more supportive. Again, though, you have to look under the hood. It's really party polarization that is driving down support among younger Americans for same-sex marriage, for example. So one number really stands out to us. If you look at young Americans' attitudes about same-sex marriage, in 2020 among Republicans, 2/3 supported same-sex marriage rights. But in last year's data among young Republicans,
Jesus
18 to 29,
Christ,
it's less than half.
dude.
That's a really big cratering of support. I think there was often an assumption among many political analysts that younger Republicans would moderate the party with respect to things like LGBTQ rights or even abortion rights or climate change, et cetera. But what we're finding in this data is that younger Republicans are very conservative socially.
So interesting.
Does this evaluate LGBT as a whole or trans support sinking and thus all LGBTQ? Well, at least the Gallup poll that we looked at, I don't know if this is not the same thing. But the Gallup poll is pretty granular. Like this is same-sex couples, should they be allowed to be married? 71% say yes as of last year in May, right? And that was the breakdown of that. They have the question, this just goes back even further. The acceptance of gays and lesbians in the nation. Oh, wait, hold on. How you feel about the state of the nation in the following areas. acceptance of gays and lesbians in the nation. This could mean multiple different things depending on how they're answering. Jesus. 8% are very satisfied about the state of transgender people in the nation. But here's the one that I was looking for. Acceptable or morally wrong? Is it morally acceptable or morally wrong? Gay or lesbian relations? 64% say morally acceptable, right? It was at 71 2 years ago. This year, 64%, right? Trans acceptance is much lower, and it's dropping, right? How normalized is homosexuality? I think it's pretty normalized at this point. I don't feel like I see, outside of the internet, outside of Twitter, outside of YouTube, people shitting on gay people, you don't really see it in real life, right? And I'm saying that as someone that like goes out into the real world and interacts with real people and goes to bars and goes to restaurants and goes to events and shit. You don't really see people be shitty to people based off of them being gay or straight, right? I have seen people be shitty to people. I've had, we almost got into a fight with someone because someone was being mean to a trans friend of mine. So I have seen personally people IRL seek out an opportunity to shit on trans people, right? So yeah, I would say that homosexuality is very normalized. I don't think that transness is as normalized nearly as much. Yeah. I go out into the world and gay people are always being harassed. I'm the one who did it. Oh, look at that. Bones is being based in chat. Our based skeletal harasser in chat.
For people who are LGBTQ or work to help solidify their rights, what does this survey data tell you about what work lies ahead for them?
Well, I think there's the survey data really points, as we like to say, the canary in the coal mine idea that you can't assume that such rights are going to be held in perpetuity or will increase. And you can't also assume just because the vast majority of Americans support these rights that those rights are going to be legally protected, especially in wake of the Dobbs decision. There's now a conservative majority on the Supreme Court, and there's indication that the rights of same-sex marriage are going to be on the line. You're going to have legal challenges from conservative groups who are going to be fighting to roll back those rights. And I think that this is just a good reminder that those rights shouldn't be taken for granted, that it's going to take political organizing, and that elections have consequences.
All right, that is the CEO of PRRI, Melissa Deckman. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I hate the idea that we're going to just chalk it up to Republicans bad. I don't. Yeah, the progressive flag is so fucking ugly, dude. Wait, where was it?
Melissa Deckman, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
There it is.
Supreme Court, and there's indication
That the progressive flag is so fucking ugly. Jesus Christ. But I don't like the idea of just saying Republicans bad and they're polarized and therefore they hate gay people. I don't like that. Why? Why is it? Oh, well, just like Republican lawmakers are tapping into the latent like homophobia of the Republican Party? No, I don't think so. Man, some of the most conservative people I know IRL, right? Not online, okay? But most of the like super conservative people I know IRL are, while not super good on these issues, right? While they don't say like the perfect progressive line, they're very accepting of gay people, right? They have a weird way of showing it, but you know, they think that they should have rights. They think that they are fun and fun to hang around. Now, they think the gay stuff is a little gross, but, you know, that's how it is. I think that so many of them could be pulled over into into supporting trans people. I want one of these polling groups so badly. I want them to poll people on the tactics or what they see as being like too much. You know? I think it's Republicans bad. True. The curious point is if youth are identifying more as LGBTQ, why is youth LGBTQ support declining? Well, the thing that they just said there was that just because there's more LGBTQ people doesn't mean that support for these things is going to grow, and it also doesn't mean that there's going to be legal protections for gay people, you know? Pendulum swinging back. Well, it's the pendulum swing back, but I think that that's just like too simple of an answer. I think that the answer lies in public perception of these groups and what they're asking for and the tactics by which they ask these things, right? Again, like I said earlier, I feel like, especially with trans activists, there is no set agenda. There is no like incremental goals. There is no like, here's what we want. This is what we're pushing for, right? It is just this broad statement of like trans liberation. There is no understanding of what it means for trans liberation to take place. And if you don't have that messaging out there and you don't have a goal and all you're doing is pushing and pushing and pushing, and then there's a large subset of your demographic that you're advocating for that thinks advocacy equals being shitty to people online and triggering the fuck out of them because, yeah, people should be made to feel uncomfortable about things, then, yeah, eventually at a certain point, I do think that people are going to start fucking hating you, right? Sure, but I find the explanation of Republicans dominating the year-to-year. I don't understand what you're saying there, Shadowrun. It's just how it goes with progressive ideas. Progressivism pushes the boundaries. When one of them goes too far, the conservative mindset gets louder and pulls things back towards the center. Yeah, but here's the thing. If it pulled things back towards the center, that would be one thing. It's swinging so far the other direction. You know? Like, if people were just like skeptical about, you know, bathrooms or spaces in like locker rooms and shit like that, or children getting hormone replacement therapy, that would be one thing. But I see actual vitriolic, disgusting fucking hate on, like, especially online, right? I don't feel like people feel comfortable enough to do to gay people, like gays and lesbians, what they are comfortable doing to trans people in public, right? Like I said just a couple minutes ago, like I hang out at a lot of like I wouldn't say that they're like gay bars, but a lot of gays like those bars. I like going to dive bars, right? Sorry, I need to finish my sentence before reading more. I like going to dive bars and stuff. And there's a lot of gay people that you see out in public at these dive bars. And I've never seen anyone be shitty to someone based off of them being gay in person, right? At least not since I was like in fucking high school, right? I've seen a lot of it online, not really see it ever in person. I've seen people be racist to like black people in person. I've seen people be, you know, shitty to, you know, Hispanic people or say some like weird sexist shit. I just realized that my overlay thing right there is causing my camera to skip. So we're turning that off for right now. But people are pretty comfortable, seems like, in person, being absolutely fucking cruel to trans people to their face in public. And I've seen that multiple times, including one time where it happened to like one of my friends, right? With me there. And it it was almost go time, right? So I do think that it all revolves around tactics used, right? Because people don't have a problem with gay people because gay people weren't like sitting there being total pieces of shit to people who were not fully bought in or anything like that. And maybe it was just because we had a different environment back then. It wasn't, the internet wasn't so all consuming in everyone's lives, right? But now it is. And the current civil rights fight that's happening is for, you know, like gendered issues. And all these young fucking people are just hurting their own movement, and it kills me because I want trans people. I want, you know, if they're non-binary, whatever people think of that, right? Whatever people think of trans people, I want them to have good fucking lives. I want them to, like, if we need to like expand trans healthcare, right, in order to accommodate that, we should probably do that. We should probably make these things available. If like the science comes out and it actually ends up that the current model is hurting trans people or hurting people who were like questioning their gender, then maybe we should relook at that. But we shouldn't ever question whether we should treat them the same or give them the same civil rights or anything like that. We shouldn't like question this or like talk about banning trans healthcare altogether. Like this is what is on the table. We're not going back towards the middle. We're swinging all the way in the other direction in a disgusting way, right? And I think from my perspective, and again, this is why I would love to see polling on this. I would love to see polling on this. Why is it that your support for trans people has dropped? Why is it like, is it, you know, this or this? Do you largely support the tactics that are being used by trans people for their civil rights movement, et cetera, et cetera? And from where I'm sitting, right, as someone that is probably more in support of trans and like non-binary or whatever the fuck, trans issues than 90% of the world population, right, by a huge margin. From where I'm sitting, I'm looking at the ways that they're trying to go about this, and it's like, bro, you're making people fucking hate you. I'm on your side, and I fucking hate you. You're obnoxious, and you're making like your gender your entire personality. You are, you know, hardcore going after anyone that like makes maybe even a off-color joke, even if it's not like super hateful, right? I think that people should go after people that are actually hateful, right? But maybe people have just lost the ability to recognize what actual hate fucking looks like. Maybe people are too sensitive nowadays. I don't fucking know what it is. But like, I get like, the only thing I think that actually triggers the fuck out of me is when someone is actually a hateful piece of shit, right? When you listen to someone talk about a certain group and you're like, oh, hold on, you're not like worried about the children, right? You're not, you know, worried about this or that. You really fucking just hate gay people. You just really fucking hate black people. You just really like that's, and I don't think that, especially like with the activist groups, I don't feel like they have the ability to differentiate between someone making a joke, someone being uninformed, someone being fucking hateful as shit. Like they just don't have the ability to discern the levels of badness. It's either full-on acceptance and full-on allyship to their specific degree that they think is acceptable, or you fucking want to throw all the transes into death camps. I feel like that's the dichotomy for a lot of these people. Like a lot of those people think that I support like trans genocide, right? Well, that guitar pick is lost forever. All right. Sorry, I had to get that out before I read any more from chat. Let me see here. All right. Remember the good old days when we made fun of people who got upset by scenes like in Arthur? See the link? Hold on. We'll look at it in a minute, okay? Oh, second link is the scene in question.
But if Patty's his sister, then... Who is Mr. Ratburn marrying?
Oh, yeah, fucking. Yeah, that shit triggered the fuck out of people. God. Okay. I think the reason why is because there's a larger focus on LGBTQ people and issues in general, and there's a lot more polarizing propaganda and online lefty takes that fuel it. I think this is just a product of more online takes, really, which is hella unfortunate. I can shed some... Wait, what do you mean? I agree with you. That's like all I was saying before you came in. Like, I don't know if the difference between like the gay movement from the, you know, the 70s through the 2000s was just like really good with their tactics, or if the environment was just so different that that like the online space just destroys people's ability to be good advocates for their cause, right? The explanation seemed to be that Republican youth are becoming so much more socially conservative, more so than other years, and that was defining the drop in youth LGBTQ support. Yeah. When young conservatives are a minority, and I am skeptical that the drop-off in support is due to young people being more socially conservative. Hold on. As someone that taught, okay, briefly talk about in VC. Okay, yeah, let me respond to this and then I'll jump in. As someone that taught at a high school for a period of time, let me tell you, even the liberal kids were making jokes about trans people and trying to get me to talk to them and like make jokes at, you know, like non-binary and trans identity. Like they were trying to like get me to make jokes about that, right? All right, let's talk to Bones and then I'll keep on reading chat. Yo, my guy. It's been a while.
It has been, actually. But yeah,
Right.
that's my
Give
part
us
of my
your speech.
ramble. Yeah, it's just primarily like the online world has given the world more access to everyone's opinions. And some of those, especially nowadays, tend to be a lot more extreme because that's, one, what gets the clicks, but also, two, I guess it's the extension of just like outrage breeds like engagement, really.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think it's like a combination of. I think it's a combination of the outrage pulls in more engagement, right? And then on top of that, I think that the or like the insular groups that people are in can turn into like feedback loops of, oh well, you think that non-binary genders are valid? What do you think of other kin? Or like whatever the fuck. And then like they'll get into a fight about whether that is or is not. Like it's the circular firing squad of left-leaning groups meme that people talk about, you know?
True, but I also think that it's kind of like broadly gotten into like the general American public, like even like Gen Xers, like older people. They we now see that they're listening to kind of like more alternative media. In particular, I'm gonna pull from a example that I have in my personal life. My dad watches a podcast called New World Old Souls, I believe. They seem to be a like pretty far right. They tend to be pretty right-leaning in terms of their views. And I watched about a 15-minute segment that my dad was commenting about with this narrative that like explicit sex ed is being pushed into schools under the guise of under the guise of like, I believe it's like a racial literacy class. And after like looking through like 15 minutes of that and looking through the evidence, the primary source for that is a Project Veritas video, which we all know
how they operate.
Yeah, they tend to operate pretty suspect, especially nowadays since they don't post full transcripts of things. But what I did find that was actually troubling was that the second part to that statement, that some of these this like one organization in New Jersey with some classes or some school districts is doing that type of thing, but it's not with like sexually explicit stuff. It's just with like basic talks about gender and stuff to like younger kids, and like very like surface level type stuff. But the podcast doesn't really go into all the details about it. It's just kind of like each point is kind of just glazed over in like a very like conversational type format with the hosts.
Yeah. And like when you're presenting it in such like a casual environment and everyone in the studio agrees, it makes it seem even more real, right? Which is why like like we watched maybe 3 minutes of Rob Noor on Tim Pool yesterday before I
heard about that.
Yeah,
congrats to him for making it all the way up there.
Yeah, for sure. Like I don't like hate the fact that he was on Tim. It's just the fact that there was no pushback, and so there's just a bunch of people circle jerking about things that are not happening, and I can't. And when you listen to someone circle jerk and everyone's agreeing, and you're like, oh well, fuck, it must be happening. All these people that are on this show, they have the money to put on this show. They must have the resources to look into this, right? Obviously, people don't go through like that thought process like explicitly, but that's like the implicit thought process that everybody has when they're watching something. Right, like fuck, these guys seem to know what they're talking about, right? And most people aren't going to go through and do more research into what's going on. So, like, I don't disagree with what you're saying at all.
Yeah, and like even more so, the podcast itself went into like, oh yeah, they're giving like these books to like kids in schools, and they're just like they're sex ed books for pubescent teens and like people of pubescent age.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad was making the claim, oh yeah, they're just showing this in like elementary schools, which could be the case with like younger pubescent kids, who are
like
probably,
fifth graders or fourth graders.
Yeah, like fifth graders max, or fifth graders min, really.
But, yeah, no, this is something that like every single time the claim that like schools are indoctrinating kids to become trans, or like schools are like these woke factories or whatever the fuck,
or they're pushing like sexually explicit topics, like
every single time I have a conversation about that, like the most evidence that anyone will be able to have is one teacher doing something in a school that was just like, it wasn't part of like the district or school mandated plan, right? Like they just
or just like deviates from it, and like that group or teacher gets like caught, reprimanded, and like it's over.
Yeah, like,
and the whole narrative,
like the overwhelming
becomes,
majority.
It's like it's like a big massive conspiracy rather than, oh, it's a bad apple.
Yeah, exactly.
Being rooted out.
I like to this day, every single conversation I've had on the topic, it is always come down to that sort of evidence without any exception.
and like I've told my dad as much, so it's like I've seen like several examples of this where it's usually just like it amounts to effectively nothing, because it's just like a small outlier or like somebody doing one bad thing. And like, and I have like a note sheet that I need to send him about like my thoughts, like entirely going point by point with the video. But
hey, link me the video and the timestamp. Maybe we'll go over it.
Sure, I can do it right now.
Nice.
Actually.
Yeah, link me that, and we'll go over that. And I'm gonna talk to Dingo real quick. All right.
All right. Take care.
All right. Love you, buddy.
Bye.
Bye. All right, loser. What do you want?
Wait, you're gonna talk to me real quick? Why not like for an extended period of time where we catch up and like have a lot of fun and like talk about how good of friends we are?
Well, I don't have that kind of attention span, and unless you have something really interesting to say, I'm not sure if we're gonna like do that. But did you have something specific you wanted to talk about?
I've got a few topics. Yeah, number one, you're not using your cool glitched out, dripped out new PFP that got made. You're still using your old one, which is like soy. So I'd recommend.
Which one?
Remember this I made for you?
Oh,
wasn't this so cool? These two, weren't they dope?
Oh, you know what? You're right. That is pretty fucking cool.
Like it looks 10 times cooler than what you have right now. Like you look like a fucking techno magician or something.
Techno magician?
You look like one of Trump's fake like electors, you know?
Yeah, that's
Like
exactly.
one of the guys he sends in. One of the guys he sends in to like to really verify the truth of the election. You're like one of those motherfuckers. Pulls up to Arizona. Look at my certificate.
He's
It's
glitching the
been
fuck out.
signed."
He's glitching the fuck out in real life.
For real. Also, number one, dude, listen, you're getting back to streaming, man. It's been a while. I've missed the Sondsol content, man. We've greatly missed it. I see you're using some Chinese spyware on your computer right now. And speaking of that, what do you think of the TikTok bill, man? This is
the Chinese spyware on my computer. What are you talking about?
Oh, Opera GX is Chinese spyware. You didn't know this?
Oh, I didn't know that. Maybe I need to change it. Where are you getting that?
Just look up Opera GX Chinese spyware and just click the first link and then read it. Anyways, man, another interesting thing that's happened. Have you heard about the latest drama in Irish politics, man? Did you hear our prime minister
Irish
step down?
politics?
Yeah,
y'all have a political system?
What did you think? What did you think? What? Of course we do.
Damn,
Now
that's
the
like
question
news
is-
to me because nobody nobody gives a fuck about Ireland. Okay.
Holy shit, that's hilarious because even the people who work as politicians in your country don't give a fuck about your country. It's actually bizarre. How does it feel that 90% of the actual conversation about your government happens in Europe? Isn't that crazy?
90% of
We-
the
9% of the good conversation.
Oh yeah,
about-
yeah. Our country is fucked. Obviously, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not
oh,
trying to
completely.
say. I'm not trying to say that like everything is peachy keen over here, but at least we're more
But
important than
how-
fucking Ireland.
How rich is it to say like, wait. Nobody cares about Irish politics when even the people who are politicians in your country don't care about the country.
I mean, I think that most of the politicians in our country
No
care
one
about the
cares.
country.
No one cares
Yeah.
about that.
So why
second of all-
did they? What were they doing?
So
What's like
no
an
one really
Irish
cares.
thing? Like pedophile?
Oh.
What?
What the dude? Pedophile is an American thing.
No, that's very
That's an
Irish.
American
But what
thing.
did they
No,
step
no.
down for?
Did you know that the first pedophile was American?
Yeah, in history.
Yeah, didn't you know that?
You know what? I'm pretty sure that Islam came around well before America did, and I think that Aisha was only 8 years old when Mr. Allah or whatever Muhammad. Anyway, sorry, I was
Mr. Allah walking into the preschool preparing to select his
Jesus
newest target,
Christ.
Mr.
okay. Tell me
the
why
dawn
your
of Mr.
PM
Allah.
or president stepped down. Okay.
Oh, he did they were doing like a 13 million euros like referendum, and it was like didn't even matter. It was just like changing the wording of something in the constitution. Like it had literally no impact on day-to-day life. If you look up the referendum, it's like changing that instead of the state supporting marriage on which the family is founded, it supports all durable relationships on which the family is. So it's like cringe, and it basically it would have no day-to-day effect at all on anyone.
Mhm.
And they did it, and it cost a lot of money. And people were like, "No, why the fuck? This is retarded." And then nobody voted for it. And then the government, which everyone hates, got like a kick in the ass. And then the guy who was setting up the whole thing, Leo Varadkar, a lot of people don't like him. I don't mind it, but a lot of people don't like him.
Mhm.
And so he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna step down now because I just can't deal with this bullshit anymore." And now the next fight is over whether Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, whether they're going to, and their approval ratings are way down. It's the Socialist Party has the highest. Sinn Féin, which stemmed from the IRA, has the highest approval rating in Ireland right now. But they're being asked to step down. That it's crazy. Like all the opposition parties were in Parliament today yelling like, "The people of Ireland have rejected this leadership. We need a general election now," and they're all yelling at each other. And the now resigned Taoiseach is just sitting back there with his head in his hands, like, "Fuck's sake." So we're gonna figure out whether we're gonna have another Fine Gael politician as our prime minister, or whether they're actually going to cop on and do a general election and let everyone decide for themselves. But if it's a general election, the reason why Sinn want a general election so bad is because they know they're going to win. They would totally win. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Man, Irish politics are so much lower stakes than American, huh?
Sorry, okay. The only reason why your guys is so much higher stake is because, number one, your country is fucking huge. Like, you can drive 12 hours from one end of California and not reach the other end. You may as well be in a different state.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, how do you guys expect to have one guy to lead all those people? It's crazy.
We don't.
Yeah, no, one president, to represent the whole country.
Okay.
Have you guys
what you think there should be a triumvirate, like fucking ancient Rome or some shit? What?
No, I was thinking like a president from every state, and they all get together. And
you mean like a governor?
No. Governors are stupid. We mean like a president for each state.
That's the governor.
No, like a president for each state.
Okay, gotcha.
That's the governor. I mean a president for each state.
Gotcha.
Yeah, or a senator.
Yeah, senator. We have senators from every state. We actually have 2 senators for every state.
Not enough. We're gonna need 3. And I think what could be
if we had 3 senators for every state, I think it would like completely break the brain of every single fucking person in the entire United States. Not gonna fucking lie.
You know what we should do that? You know what America could do? Like, if you're like a politician, have you ever seen like the campaign ads? Like, but if you're being chased by 1 billion Democrats who are angry and wearing Klan hoods, you're gonna need that rifle. Have you seen that ad?
No.
You've not seen that ad? Are you serious?
No, I have not.
Oh shit. Okay, you gotta pull this up on stream. There's no way you haven't seen this.
Okay.
This is crazy that you haven't seen.
You find this for me. We'll watch it together. All right, and then I'm gonna kick you from the call. All right.
Okay.
Let me see here.
Stream it to me.
I had to click on the link. Be patient, son.
I'm not your son.
Call me daddy. There we go.
Wait! Okay.
All right.
Okay, resume.
Never scream like that again. Jesus Christ. Okay.
I've got to show you this incredible ad from Jerome Davison.
Is this like, who the fuck is this? Is this Australian Glenn Beck, dude?
Yeah, that was him.
I've got to show you this incredible ad from Jerome Davison, a black American Republican who is running for Congress in Arizona, and he has some thoughts about Democrats, race, and gun control. Now, our lawyers tell me we have to warn you, this ad does contain violent material. Have a look.
Democrats like to say that no one needs an AR-15 for self-defense, that no one could possibly need all 30 rounds. But when this rifle is the only thing standing between your
Jesus
family,
Christ. Wait, why does...
Wait, no, you haven't reached the funniest part yet.
Wait, well, hold on. I wanna look at these guys' weapons, okay? Because I think one of these guys had like, what the fuck is this thing right here? This guy, it's like a rake, but it's like a fucking pitchfork. What the fuck?
the only thing standing between your family and a dozen angry Democrats in Klan hoods. You just might need that semi-automatic and all 30 rounds.
What's your view on that?
What's my view on that? I think that's one of the stupidest fucking campaign ads I've ever seen in my entire goddamn life.
But it makes you want to vote for him.
Does it? I mean, he's got a drip, okay? I mean, listen, right here with the shades, okay?
Yeah.
Dude's got drip, okay? Not gonna fucking lie.
Why haven't you run for Congress and do a thing like Walt for Congress or something? Walt for America.
Walt for America?
You remember that Hands Across America thing where they all held hands? You could do a thing where it's like Walt across America, where everyone like walks across America. Could be like a good idea.
All right, we're gonna leave him in there, okay? Wow, what an interesting ad. I should use these pictures here for something. Don't need this. I don't care. We got rid of that. We're good with that. We've watched this. Cool. I would commit voter fraud for this guy. Hey, don't say that. Don't say that in public, okay? You got to keep that secret. Keep it safe, okay? All right, real quick. If you guys are watching on YouTube, there's a discrepancy, okay? There's a discrepancy right now between the amount of viewers and the amount of likes. Please like the stream, okay? Like the stream. There's 8 people watching on the regular stream, 2 people watching on the shorts. Like the stream. It helps out more than you know, all right? And I'm not moving on until I see at least 1 like happen, all right? Motherfuckers, I'll sit here. I'll wait. Oh, one of you bastards fucking unliked. You guys should actually go. You need to go Home Depot. Get yourself a razor blade. Go home. Look at yourself in the mirror. Put it up to your neck and shave your face so that you can finally go outside and touch fucking grass. Fucking loser. Actually, fucking degenerate piece of shit. Okay. There we go. Now we have 5 likes. Thank you so much. All right. Oh,
women are oppressed.
Don't care. Open it up on this window.
Women are oppressed. Men are...
That's a TOS violation against people who don't shave. Based. Michael Knowles BTFO'd. I don't care about watching Michael Knowles argue with fucking Farah and Pixie over and over and over and over. Like, I don't care. I'm sorry. I just can't stand watching him. I can't stand watching Michael Knowles. I can't stand watching what's the guy that tries to make himself look way more masculine than he actually is? Hates trans people. What the fuck is his name? I just came to dislike. Okay, I got my reaction. Hey, thanks, Corey Pelsman. Fuck, does anybody remember what the fuck is he has the beard. He's on the Daily Wire. What the fuck is his name?
There's a mandate for racial justice.
We have no idea the repercussions.
Okay, so the segment I'm talking about starts at about minute 13. Okay, let's look at what this is. We'll go to like 12 minutes and 30 seconds to get any context beforehand. Matt Walsh, thank you. Holy fuck. I could not remember his name.
Morality and what is right and wrong. And it seems like in this case that isn't what's happening.
Yeah, and so I almost wonder with the staff too, because I know that there are good teachers and bad teachers and good staff members
100%.
and bad staff members.
Let's go here.
Peers.
I think she's with a boy.
She's trying to avoid saying that, but yeah, she's with a boy right now.
They're having dinner.
Just because kids are homeschooled, and I agree that social interaction with your peers is extremely important for a number of reasons, but it's not always good. And especially when you have an institution that's set up in the way that a public school is, to where you have, I hate repeating myself here and speaking in circles, but if you have school staff members and administrators who are like, no, you're going to get detention if you don't do this. What are you supposed to do if you're that kid? So yeah, the social aspect of it is great, especially under the correct conditions, where there are standards of morality and what is right and wrong. And it seems like in this case that isn't what's happening.
Yeah, and so I almost wonder with the staff too, because I know that there are good teachers and bad teachers and good staff members
100%.
and bad staff members. But I think that the social pressures, even for educators, if you don't fall in line, is pretty heavy, which is something that I struggled with as a teacher.
It's everything that
I don't understand why people like use these lines like fall in line. Do you know how easy it is to just like not ever talk about LGBT issues? Do you know how easy it is? It's dummy easy. It's so like I worked at a school. I've worked at multiple schools. and you can just not talk about it. If you don't agree with like the gender people, okay, you don't have to engage with it, right? You don't have to give your opinion on something, right? Just like if you're a racist teacher, you don't have to give your opinion on black people. You don't have to give your opinion on immigration. You don't have to give your opinion on fucking anything, actually. It's super easy.
I actually personally, this is my own personal opinion, it's everything that I actually dislike about the public schooling system is that, again, there are these institutions with a hierarchy and rules and
Gender people, I'm using their language, okay? I'm trying to get to their, I'm trying to meet them at their level, okay?
policies that don't always make sense, especially in today's day and age. And I'm not going to plug my child to be a cog in the machine that is the public schooling system, because
I mean, here's the thing. Like, I understand the online activists can be like super fucking cringe, but the world is not that fucking bad unless you're living online perpetually and you never go outside and touch fucking grass. You can actually just like live a normal life without feeling like people are trying to force you to become trans or force your kids to be trans. It's super fucking easy. A cog in the machine, bro. Like, I hate using, like, there are so many examples that I used to try to avoid, and I still, for the most part, try to avoid using the examples because people get super fucking ass mad about it because it's like a soy liberal thing to say. But, bro, there were a lot of people when, you know, Civil Rights Act passed in the United States and desegregation was happening, that were pulling their kids out of public schools because they didn't want their kids to be indoctrinated into like degenerate, you know, black culture and shit like that. It absolutely happened. There's an absolute fuckload of evidence and like news articles and videos and people just saying it, you know, that they didn't want their kids to be around black people because they didn't know what effect that would have on them. And now people are like totally chill. People are totally fine with kids being around black people. All right. With their white kids being around black kids. Well, I mean, depending on who you are, but it's the same thing with gay people. Bro, yeah, there's going to be gay people in the world. Sorry. Can't shield your child from it forever. There are going to be people that, you know, there are going to be people in the world that try to trick your kid. There are going to be people in the world that try to, you know, do horrible things to them, you know, throughout their lives, right? There are going to be people who are different than you, that your child meets, that are not trying to do anything bad to them. There are going to be all sorts of things that your kid is going to have to engage with at some point. And you just pulling them out of society because you're scared of the influence of like them interacting with a gay kid or a trans kid is going to have on them shows how weak of a parent that you are. I'm sorry. That's what it comes down to. Like, if you are such a weak, shitty parent that you can't even imagine what it would be like to try to explain to your child that there are people that don't look or act like them in the world and that they don't have to be like those people, but they still have to show them respect. Like, you're just a shitty fucking parent. You don't know how to deal with things in your own life, and now you're also hampering your own child's ability to deal with those things in their life.
You know, especially if it's a situation where you and I are completely unaware of what's happening at school, like it sounds like is the case for a lot of the parents.
Are we multi-streaming to TikTok as well? No, I don't know how to do that. And I also think that it would melt my computer if I opened up a third stream, okay, or a fourth stream, okay?
Involved in this particular situation. It's, you know, there's faults to find there with the child, the school itself, but especially the parents, kind of like you said. How is it that, you know, family members are functioning on a day-to-day basis without knowing what exactly is going on while everybody's outside of the house doing their own thing?
Well, that's the way it's been for the entirety of the public schooling system. It's actually the way that it's been for the entirety of people going to jobs and leaving their kids at home because they can't take their kids to work. You don't know what your kid is doing when you're at work. What is different? Nobody, except for like crazy helicopter parents that everybody makes fun of, or schizophrenic fucking paranoid losers like you want access to their child at every single moment of the fucking day so that they can monitor every single fucking action that they do so that they turn out to be exactly like you, but like with fewer social skills because you didn't let them go out and make friends themselves. Like, Jesus.
For peers.
I'm just curious about the format. Oh, well, if you want to watch the regular stream, you can go to my go to the YouTube page, and then you can click on the normal layout, but we're also streaming to shorts as well.
I think she's with a boy.
She's trying to avoid saying that, but yeah, she's with a boy right now.
They're having dinner.
Just because kids are homeschooled, and I agree that social interaction with your peers is extremely important for a number of reasons, but it's not always good, and especially when you have an institution that's set up in the way that a public school is, to where you're like, yeah.
Man, I can't wait for all these people to be like really upset that their kids are like completely socially inept. Like, oh, is my kid autistic? No, your kid's not autistic. They're homeschooled because you were too fucking scared of the gays to send them to public school. Fucking
repeating myself here and speaking in circles, but if you have school staff members and administrators who are like, no, you're gonna get detention if you don't do this. What are you supposed to do if you're that kid? So yeah, the social aspect of it is great, especially under the.
Also, what he's saying is being forced on them.
Always good, and especially when you have an institution that's set up in the way that a public school is, to where I hate repeating myself here and speaking in circles, but if you have school staff members and administrators who are like, no, you're gonna get detention if you don't do this. What are you supposed to do if you're that kid? So yeah, the social aspect of it is great, especially under the correct conditions, where there are standards of.
Yeah. Parents can know what's going on in schools. It's called requesting or reading the curriculum. It's called like being involved in your child's life, but not being so involved that you don't allow them to interact with people that you think are fucking scary. Or, well, hold on. Let me word that a little bit more carefully, because yeah, there are some people that are scary that you should like protect your kid from. Obviously, let me chill out a little bit. If you're too fucking scared to let your kid interact with people that are different than you, right? That's a bad thing. And if you're also so uninvolved in their life that you don't know who they're interacting with, that's bad. But you can also go too far in the other direction to where you're helicoptering over them and essentially shielding them from every interaction that might be a learning experience or might like lead them to have like a better experience in life. Like, that's what you're doing to your child. You are a bad parent. This is like, I don't know. I feel like people that are like this, it's like tantamount to child abuse. It's fucking disgusting to me. But I'm not even telling you, right? Like, to be ultra clear for people that have never watched me before, okay? I'm not saying that you have to be fully in line with a progressive line. I'm not saying that you have to like be, fully in support of trans rights or anything like that. I'm not saying that you have to do that, because there are, people going to have disagreements on shit and all that. But fuck, if you're so paranoid about the world that you're going to pull your child out of public education because you're too scared of them having to interact with fucking gay people, that's on you. That is 100% on you and not on society.
Morality and what is right and wrong. And it seems like in this
case, go to a fucking parent-teacher conference, right? Like, they literally have PTO meetings at every single fucking school at every grade level. If you're too lazy as a parent to be involved with your child's life and you're like, just have no idea what they're doing, get more involved in life. And if you're so involved in your child's life that you think that everyone is trying to turn them trans, maybe you're the one that has the problem and you should have a step backwards.
Case that isn't what's happening.
Yeah, and so I almost wonder what the staff do, because I know that there are good teachers and bad teachers and good staff members
100%.
And bad staff members. But I think that the social pressures, even for educators, if you don't fall in line, is pretty heavy, which is something that I struggled with as a teacher.
It's everything that I actually personally, this is my own personal opinion, it's everything that I actually dislike about the public schooling system, is that, again, there are these institutions with a hierarchy and rules and policies that don't always make sense, especially in today's day and age. And I'm not going to plug my child to be a cog in the machine that is the public schooling system.
We've listened for now a solid minute. We've not been given a single example. They've just been saying things. They haven't given even an example. I'm not even asking for the evidence. I'm not saying show, like, it would be great if they showed like sources and this is the reason why I believe this, but like give something other than just like, this is how it is. There's nothing that I can even like go off of here.
Because you know, especially if it's a situation where you and I are completely unaware of what's happening at school, like it sounds like is the case for a lot of the parents involved in this particular situation. It's
okay, hold on. Now I'm invested. We're watching the whole thing.
We have no idea the repercussions of this.
We're watching
the
on
damage
1.5.
that they are doing. What happens when these little girls and these little boys?
absolutely beautiful tonight.
Oh, terrible! You were like, good night.
Recently, and we thought we'd discuss and dissect here together.
Right. Yeah. In order to be totally honest and upfront about what is going on and really be able to describe it, there just should not be small children in the room.
I don't want to vividly describe these things, but
but there has to be. It's impossible to keep it completely PG in order to discuss it at all.
yeah, let's address it. And like, I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to go into great detail about it. But if you do have kids in the room, we would please just ask that you remove them because again, we want to be looking out for our young people out there. So what is it that we're discussing?
All right. So this week we were just scrolling on the Instaface, and I came across this reel from Libs of TikTok, which is a tremendous site. They basically do like.
Literally every single time I've had a conversation about this with someone where I'm like, can you show me where this like large scale indoctrination is happening? Right? Like, can you show me where like there is a policy where they're trying to like do this or do that, like depending on what conversation we're having. Every single fucking time, the evidence that I get linked is a video from fucking Libs of TikTok, dude. Which is not evidence of a fucking systemic issue. If Republicans don't want to accept, right? And you know what? They're right to not accept this at face value, right? If they don't want to accept individual videos of black people being brutalized by the police, short videos that don't show all the context, okay? If they don't want to accept that police are brutalizing black people on a daily basis and just like trying to oppress black people and stuff, if they don't want to accept that, why the fuck are they okay with accepting the Libs of TikTok thing? Ooh, I don't understand. I don't understand it.
Hidden videos, or they just kind of independent journalism. If you don't already follow Libs of TikTok, I highly recommend it. It is eye-opening, all the different stories that they bring to light. So in Oklahoma, they had a charity event at their schools, at a high school. I think it's called like Swine Week or something like that. Public school where the students were raising money for charity.
Swine Week would be like a really Oklahoma thing, okay? Can we, sorry to my Oklahomites in chat, but it would be Oklahoma that has something called a swine festival.
By other students pledging money on certain students to have to lick things like peanut butter off the toes of other students or other people.
Staff members is what you said, correct?
It wasn't this year. It didn't involve any staff members this year. It was just student-on-student crime.
Let me just say that I'm familiar with these stories because, again, it's been in the news, but I haven't viewed the video clips that
that's weird.
have saved to your phone.
Yeah.
So also, this isn't intended to be an attack in any way on public schools or public institutions, but there are things that are going on that we feel just should be highlighted, this being one of them.
Right. So once this came, like this is like all over the news right now about this Oklahoma school that had other students licking peanut butter off people's feet. And then
hold on, I wanna let's see here. Oklahoma Swine Week? Is that what they called it? News? Okay. Feet licking videos. Okay, please don't autoplay. Feet licking videos uncovered from past Edmond Public Schools fundraising events. Okay, we're not gonna watch that video. It seems really fucking weird. The videos are spread out over several years. Chocolate, peanut butter, and other condiments off feet and armpits during their week-long philanthropy events. Going back to 2015. The feet licking didn't happen this year. Bro, man, goddamn, dude. No one's had a problem with it until now.
And the school district, the superintendent actually was really appalled and was not aware this was going on, or so they claimed they were not aware. And
How
they were
not,
like,
though?
I don't know. They were like, this is garbage, this is filth. We're doing a full investigation. We're going to stop this in Oklahoma schools, which I appreciate, and I really do hope that they do.
Saying all the right things.
Saying all the right things. We'll see if it continues. But apparently this dates back to 2015. So once this came out, the students from 2015 all the way to 2020 were like, that is nothing. You should see what we had to do when we were in school in Oklahoma.
Why is this only coming to light now if this has been going on for years?
I don't know. So I don't know if it kind of came to a halt when COVID happened, which kind of made sense, but now it's back up and running, but with some tweaks. So back in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 20, all the way to 2020, there's all these videos that are surfacing now of students having to lick peanut butter and chocolate and all kinds of other stuff off armpits.
Explain the parameters of what are they raising money for? What was the charitable cause?
I don't know I think it's different charities. So one of the schools raised like $150,000 for charity, which is great. I love that. Yep. When I was in school, we sold chocolate bars. Sometimes we sold wrapping paper. I remember my grandma buying those like packages of the gift bags. They were always terrible, and you'd get them for your birthday and you'd be like, that was from our fundraiser. So like, there's other ways to raise money as a school besides humiliating students.
That's the understatement of the century. Not only are you humiliating them, you're also risking poor health effects.
Yeah. So back in like 2020,
they had to have. Can we please? They had to have like required people to wash their feet first, right? They didn't take off their socks and then stick peanut butter on it, right? They washed it first, right?
There were actually staff members involved in this too. So now you have minor children licking adult staff members in the public school, licking their armpits, their toes. And then it got even worse because some of the kids were claiming that it was like it turned into a hazing and bullying situation because students could pledge money against other students. So if there was somebody that a student didn't like or that a group of students didn't like and they were targeted. So everyone would put money towards the student. And the only way to not have to do it would be to pay your way out of it. So if somebody pledged $500 to watch you lick pudding off the math teacher's armpit, you had to come up with $500 in order not to do it. And the staff would actually, like there were kids that were saying they had anxiety going to school, they were in tears.
Can't imagine why.
Yeah. And then it got really humiliating to the point that it was like you had to stand in a garbage can and have kids throw food at you. Or there was one kid that was made to stand in a garbage can at lunchtime and everybody dumped their lunch over their head, milk and all kinds of stuff while they stood in the garbage can. And then if the kids would try to skip lunch, they would be threatened with detention and other things like that and just guilted by peers and staff members.
I'm so baffled as to how it is that things made it
How the fuck did this go from this conversation to libs of TikTok?
that far, because the setting, correct me if I'm wrong here, was like an assembly type setting where all of this was happening, with the exception of the lunchtime examples that you gave. But for them to threaten enforcement of their, being some kind of penalty, whether it be detention or suspension, is crazy. How did this slip by everybody and actually make it to where we are requiring these kids or compelling these kids to do these absolutely heinous acts on staff members of the school? It's crazy.
Well, one of the moms that attended, so this just happened like last week in Oklahoma, and one of the moms that attended the assembly was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
But yet when she was on the news, she wanted to remain anonymous. She changed her voice. She was blurred out. I wouldn't have been anonymous. So why are you being anonymous?
Yeah.
You're standing for, maybe she was trying not to humiliate her kid, but
I think it's just the day and age that we live in. People feel as though if they speak up, they're going to be targeted with negative repercussions.
Yeah, a mother should be able to say,
I don't feel, maybe just like Oklahoma and fucking culture is super different, but I don't think that anybody is going to have a problem with this, speaking out against this one.
Food off somebody's toes.
I mean, it should go without saying, but yeah.
Right, and not have to remain anonymous under, that she obviously feels some kind of a threat.
Get canceled, Melissa.
Yeah,
but you speak out about forcing kids to lick substances off adult staff members.
Well, yeah, or even their own peers, which is, I guess, what's going on now.
No better.
Absolutely no better. It's humiliation. It's disgusting. It should not be happening in our schools. It's complete smut. What happened to selling candy bars? Like, how did we get here and how did the parents not know about this? So this must have been a fundraiser that was going on for at least a month, all of the build up to it and everything. How did this adult's child never at any point bring this up to this parent? Like, hey, mom, this is what's going on. I can't imagine that. No, before.
Before, yeah.
Like, if there's a student afraid back in 2020, afraid to go to school because they don't have the $500 to not have to lick someone's armpit in front of everyone while everyone laughs and mocks them. I believe this is over now, but it's just amazing that it went on in the day and age of cell phone cameras. I don't understand how this never came.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I was asking why it's only coming to light now. If this is happening since 2015. It's bizarre because there was tons of camera.
And when did this stop? When did we stop discussing as a family, as American families, what is going on at school, and what anxieties that these kids have, what fears they have, what bullying issues are going on at school? Why is this not being discussed at home?
Yeah, for sure. Parents should be aware of what's happening in the day-to-day goings on of their child, especially while they're at
school. Are they? I really thought that this was going to be like, oh, they're raising money for like a trans charity, but they're literally just going to take the weirdo event that's obviously bad, and then they're going to say that it's just like trans people. Is that what it is?
School and they're out of their supervision. Well, what struck me when you're telling me about this is just like, why, I guess easy for me to say as an older adult, but there's no way in hell that anyone would ever compel me in any way, even through a threat of like physical harm, to perform such an act in a public space for humiliation's sake. There's no way. But
yeah.
I get it. If you're a 16-year-old kid, it's a lot harder to stand up for yourself and say, no, I'm not doing that.
It may have been more humiliating to say, no, I'm not doing it, because if everyone else is just doing it and being a good sport and you're not, then.
We have two streams going on at the same time because we're experimenting with streaming to Shorts and to YouTube and to Kick at the same time. And it seems like it's doing good.
It's like, oh, look at this person, like, poor sport.
Yeah,
like,
those weird social situations, again, where you're feeling that peer pressure, it's just such a bizarre thing. It's difficult to put your finger on why it is that you're willing to go outside of yourself and do things that you really don't want to do. Yeah, very odd, very sad, especially like I said, since this is coming down from school staff members. It's so baffling, so upsetting.
Well, we definitely get criticized a lot on the homeschool. Like, aren't you worried that your kids are missing out on like the social aspects of school?
Nope.
And I actually think that the social aspects of school are so often the most damaging aspects of school. I feel like our kids are missing out on group assignments and getting up and doing public speaking and presenting a report where you have to do the poster board and everything, presenting it in front of a classroom of your peers.
And it's a stigma and misunderstanding about homeschooled kids. I mean, Nevaeh's out and about right now with some of her peers.
I think she's with a boy.
She's actually not a boy. Yeah, she's with a boy right now.
They're having dinner.
Okay, this is where we started. I don't understand how they got to. I don't understand how they got to trans people.
And what is right and wrong. That seems like in this case that isn't what's happening.
Yeah, and so I almost wonder with the staff too, because I know that there are good teachers and bad teachers and good staff members
100%.
and bad staff members, but I think that the social pressures, even for educators, if you don't fall in line, is pretty heavy, which is something that I struggled with as a teacher.
It's everything that I actually personally, this is my personal opinion, it's everything that I actually dislike about the public schooling system is that, again, there are these institutions with a hierarchy and rules and policies that don't always make sense, especially in today's day and age. And I'm not going to plug my child to be a cog in the machine that is the public schooling system because, especially if it's a situation where you and I are completely unaware of what's happening in school, like it sounds like it's the case for a lot of the parents involved in this particular situation. It's, there's faults to find there with the child, the school itself, but especially the parents, kind of like you said, how is it that, family members are functioning on a day-to-day basis without knowing what exactly is going on while everybody's outside of the house doing their own thing?
Well, this Oklahoma thing, I have no idea how the parents didn't know about it, but I do know how parents don't know about other stuff going on inside the schools because you have outside organizations that are coming in under different names and under different constructs to sneak their agenda in. So that's something that I've been watching on. There's another really great Instagram page called Project Veritas, and they do all kinds of undercover stuff. And they were revealing a group that was coming in the public schools for cultural awareness, teaching basically something you can't opt out of because this is cultural studies, but they weren't doing cultural studies at all. It was complete sex ed type curriculum. It was agenda based, and normally
what do you mean when you say agenda based?
it was like a group that was coming in and talking about all kinds of different things about gender and gender identity and
very sexually explicit
content, how to perform different sex acts, what they would consider safely,
and this is for children of what age?
They are trying to get into kindergarten classrooms right now to talk about gender and consent, but right now they are
okay. Fuck, there's like so much. So, first off, no one's going into kindergarten classrooms and giving like sexually explicit conversations to children. And if they are, then those people should be, either told to leave the school immediately or, if they're part of the school, they should be fired, whatever. Yeah. Like a side point, I guess, going into kindergartners and talking about consent. Yeah, that's a good thing because children can't consent. This is like in the most broad sense of the term. Consent is, I don't want you to do that to me. That's a good thing to tell kindergartners. I have watched as I was shadowing a teacher, I watched another teacher or counselor or whatever the fuck come in and talk to the kids about like, hey, sometimes you should always go to adult if you need help with something, right? Or if something is bad, right? But you should only trust adults that you know, right? All the kids said yes. Who are some adults that you know? Mom, dad, Uncle Jerry, whatever the fuck. All right. Now, if you hurt yourself, you should go and tell, your mom or your dad. Yes. All right. But what if your dad or Uncle Jerry hurts you, right? Oh, well, now what should you do? You should tell your teacher, right? And they never go they never go into like explicit details, but they say like your private area, no one should ever touch you there. Not even your dad, not even your mom, not even Uncle Jerry, right? Unless you need help with like going to the bathroom, right? But you should never, like, if someone's doing something and you don't like it, you should tell them to stop. And if they don't, you should tell another adult. And never feel scared to tell another adult that another, grown up is doing something that you don't like. That is a conversation, guess what, on consent. That is how, like, the number one way childhood sexual assault gets caught by a kid telling a teacher or telling another trusted adult who goes to the authorities. A conversation with kindergartners on consent is, hey kids, this is how you not get raped. That's all it is. And it doesn't have to be that explicit. It doesn't have to be that, in depth. It's just, if you don't like this, tell an adult. Why would anybody be upset about that? Unless you want those kids to get raped, which I'm going to assume these people don't want the children to get raped. So
already in, I think, starting in 3rd grade, going all the way through high school in the public school systems. And this is an outside group. So normally you can offer.
Who is the group?
Oh gosh.
Let's name them if you know it, because it's important.
Hold on, let me try to find it.
Because these people have absolutely zero business being around any children, especially when they're coming in. A lot of these groups are very aggressive and militant in their efforts. And why would anybody feel as though it's important to have contact with a kindergarten-aged child, 5, 6 years old, to explain the concept of sexual consent?
Let me try to find it.
So they don't get raped.
It starts here.
When you go to middle school, they have a class that's called Pathways to Racial Literacy. We come in and we teach for 3 days. That class, parents are not allowed to opt their children out. That's our real sort of goal would be to remove opt-out laws or opt-out policies. Okay, but you found a back door. Yeah, it is really nice.
That's just a
They didn't even explain what it was.
little bit of what she's talking about. So basically they call it racial injustice class, but it has nothing to do with racial
They label it
injustice.
as such because then parents can't opt out because it's a mandatory obligatory class.
Yes.
What state is that in?
They're in several different states.
Okay. Yeah, so
it's
they're taking advantage of the loophole by actually providing a class that doesn't fall under the actual category and label in which they're slapping on it.
So racial injustice is a mandated class that you're not, the school is not obligated to tell the parents about.
Which, first of all, why?
Okay, so this is okay. Hightops.org. Search. About us. Sex education, LGBT young people in New Jersey. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, wait. Sex education for middle and high school aged youth. Middle and high school. Okay. Let me see. I wonder. Oh man, I was trying to see if they had like a specific. What was the name of the thing that she said? Here, let me go to the. Racial injustice. What?
Yeah, sort of goal that class. That's called Pathways to Racial Literacy.
Okay. Oh. High tops pathways to racial literacy. Let's see. I'm curious. Oh, I didn't want scholarly articles. After a secret recorded the program in schools, the superintendent of the Princeton Public Schools sent an email to parents saying the school district does not condone providing sex education to students without parental consent. Let me make it clear. Under no circumstances does Princeton Public Schools condone or employ such strategies. Fuck. I want to know. Did they say anything? I just want to know what the actual thing is about. Product video online. conversations about race, racism, and other forms of discrimination that are personal and vulnerable. Identity pathway, which is how High Tops reaches the students. It helps students develop their own identities, give her other identities without judgment, and encourages students to embrace not only their own individuality, but those of their peers. I wish that there was like more information about like how it happens. Key findings. Oh, okay. Educating teenagers about sex in the United States. Received formal sex education before they were 18. 96% of female and 97% of male teenagers. Female teenagers are more likely than male teenagers to report first receiving instruction on birth control methods in high school. Younger female teenagers were more likely than younger male teenagers to have talked to their parents about sex and birth control. Nearly 2 out of 3 female teenagers talk to their parents about how to say no to sex compared to with about 2 out of 5 male teenagers. Sex education in schools provides adolescents with information to make informed choices about sex at a crucial period in their development. This report examines the percentage of male and female teenagers 15 to 19 years who received the sex education. Teenagers were asked if they received formal instruction on 4 topics of sex education. Okay. Why? Link me that. This is... They should be way more open. Like, obviously you don't have to give like your entire curriculum or how everything works. I understand how like people want to protect their stuff so other people don't go out and just do the exact same thing and cut into their market of advocacy, I guess. I don't know. But I just maybe here. Let's see what this says. Okay, yeah. So they don't give any like full information about what the content of their stuff is. That's like, I feel like people should do that. I feel like people should do that. You know, it is interesting, but I mean, I just want to know what the actual content is. If people are going to be so ass mad about it, they should probably have an actual reason to be ass mad about it besides a highly edited fucking clip.
We come in and we teach for 3 days. That class, parents are not allowed to opt their children out. That's our real, I guess that's our like real.
All different states.
Okay. Yeah, so they're taking advantage of the loophole by actually providing a class that doesn't fall under the actual category and label in which they're slapping on it.
So racial injustice is a mandated class that you're not, the school is not obligated to tell the parents about.
First of all,
and you can't opt out.
Why is that a mandatory class?
I don't know, but it is. So either way, the students are required to take it. The parents are not required to know about it, and you cannot opt out of it. So they call it that, but really it's like this agenda-based sex ed. It has nothing to do with racial injustice at all. It's a loophole just to get in the school and just to make sure that parents have no idea that they're there and the kids can opt out.
What's your theory as to why is it they're so aggressive in the push to get to our young kids in these public institutions?
I think it's just people get it in their head that this is what kids need to be learning right now, and they're just so militant about it. I mean, you get to the youth. It was Hitler, right, that said, he who owns the youth owns the future. So you have to get these kids young, and they want to get them away from their parents' clutches of morality. And
because parents will protect their children, look out for them, and protect their minds and their hearts, and they are introducing evil to these kids. They're doing it to our public institutions.
Or the parents could be like paranoid schizophrenic freaks who want to pull their kids out of schools so that they never, change. They never learn about the outside world. They just want like bunker children. I swear to God, that's what people want. They just want bunker children.
And they'll say like, oh, we're talking about consent and we're talking about gender. You're talking about a whole lot more than that. There's nothing wrong with talking about consent.
Sorry, that's not what it's about at all. Right. It's about introducing these very sexually explicit concepts to children at a very early age because you were trying to hypersexualize them.
Why are we sexualizing children?
Why are we sexualizing our children? Why are we so hell-bent on it if you're these people? It's the same thing that goes hand in hand with this new MAPS agenda that's being pushed out to try to normalize pedophilia. It goes hand in hand. Because if you have a child
nobody is doing that. I'm sorry. I looked away for 2 seconds. They start talking about pedophilia and they're trying to normalize that. Nobody is trying to do that. I'm sorry. There's like, I have never run across I have run across so many people unironically advocating for things that are insane: monarchy, anarcho-capitalism, communism, all sorts of fucking extreme ideologies. I've seen people in the wild say that like helicopter gender is totally valid. You know what I have never seen in my entire fucking life, ever, not once? I have never once in my entire fucking life seen anybody positively speak of maps. I've never seen anybody say anything good about like the or like even think that a push to normalize pedophilia is real. It's just not real. This is like the one thing that I'll say, like, I don't see any evidence of it anywhere. This is like one of the very few things that I'll say, like, it's just completely astroturfed bullshit narrative shit. Because I've never seen it. I've seen some crazy shit from trans activists. I've seen some crazy shit from, you know, the woke scolds and woke people and, you know, like Black Lives Matter, whatever the fuck. I've seen crazy shit from these people. You know what I've never seen? Anybody say anything nice about a pedophile.
Far easier in the future to go, hey, no, look, our kids. You mentioned to me that you quoted somebody saying that the concept of being a child is a social construct.
Childhood is a social construct.
No, it's not.
Is what they said.
Okay, this is so fucking retarded. I changed my mind. I don't want to watch it. These people are small enough to where I think that it's not inconceivable that I could pull a conversation with one of them. That would be so fucking fun. Someone remind me about these people, okay? I'll subscribe to them. I want to reach out. I want to have a conversation. Childhood is a social construct. I mean, by like technical, but it's not worth ever saying that, okay? Like, the only reason to like point out like, this is a social construct is to like intellectually masturbate about philosophy that you know and other people don't know. I mean, it's true, but it's not worth talking about.
Happening right now on Capitol Hill, explosive testimony underway at a House hearing on the Biden family's alleged influence peddling.
Oh, they had an open door meeting now without Hunter Biden there? That's interesting.
First son, Hunter, was invited to testify publicly, something he himself has called for many times. He said he wanted to testify publicly. But when the hearing started, his chair was empty. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered.
Sorry,
I'm Kaylee.
I was responding to DMs.
Hunter was invited to testify publicly, something he himself has called for many times. He said he wanted to testify publicly. But when the hearing started, his chair was empty. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kaylee McEnany, here with my co-host, Emily Campagno. Also joining us, Fox and Friends co-host.
What else do they have to talk about? Hasn't all of the people who have said anything about Hunter Biden been completely disgraced and the Republicans who brought them up humiliated? Do they have any witnesses that allege any wrongdoing still?
Host Ainsley Earhart, president of KA Consulting, Fox News contributor, and former senior counselor to President Trump, Kellyanne Conway, and Fox News contributor Joe Concha. But first, let's go live to David Spunt with more details. David.
Hi, Kaylee. Republicans insist that this hearing that's been going on for...
Man, I need to not make fun of people's looks, but I swear to God, like, every single fucking Fox host and anchor looks like an Oblivion character. Like, do they not look like someone that was made in the Oblivion character creator? Every single one of them? It's kind of baffling. He looks slightly more normal. Looks like a Republican, but he looks slightly more normal. But like, bro, these people,
Kaylee, Republicans insist that this hearing that's been going on for 2 hours is truly about influence peddling, a large problem they see in Washington, D.C. Democrats say it's just another opportunity for Republicans to show an empty chair with the name tag Hunter Biden. Well, lo and behold, there you go. There is an empty chair seated between two witnesses with the name tag Hunter Biden. He did not show up today, but in between, or on each side, I should say, of that empty chair, two polar opposite witnesses. The first is a Democrat witness, Lev Parnas, a former Rudy Giuliani associate who served a brief time behind bars. Democrats say he was close to Giuliani and Trump world and can explain influence peddling related to Donald Trump, though not to Joe Biden. Watch this.
The American people have been lied to by Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani. I found precisely zero evidence of the Biden's corruption in Ukraine.
Republicans have Tony Bobulinski in the room today. He's the former Hunter Biden business associate. He said he met with Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and Jim Biden. He says, full stop, Joe Biden is the brand, and the Biden family made its living off influence peddling.
Joe Biden was more than a participant in and a beneficiary of his family's business. He was an active, aware enabler.
Also in attendance today, Kaylee, Jason Galanis, a former Hunter business associate who's serving 14 years behind bars in federal prison for securities fraud.
He's sitting in prison for scamming workers' pensions. I mean, how low can you get?
Is that guy? Wait, hold on. I know he's a white guy with dark hair and a beard that's graying, but I don't think that this guy is Hunter Biden. So I don't know what evidence that is against the Bidens. He might look in the same genre of human being as Hunter Biden, but just because someone has the vague visage, if you squint and turn your head sideways, you can kind of see Hunter Biden, but that's not Hunter Biden on the screen right now, guys. Just so you guys know, what the fuck does that have to do with anything?
He's sitting in prison.
Like, I understand, like, showing, like, hey, this person is connected to this person. They've been put behind bars and we're investigating all these things. But usually that comes with what? A little bit of evidence on the side of the person that you're actually going after, right? Like, we can point towards Trump and all the people that are criminally, indicted or in jail because of Trump before he fucking pardoned them, right? We can look at all those fucking people and we can say, hey, look, all these people are around Trump. They were doing things at his direction that were illegal. They got sent to prison for it. Trump didn't go to prison for any of these things. But we also have all of these other indictments against Trump, and this speaks to his character, that they were following orders of the president at the time. They got fucked for it. Now Trump also has these indictments, and it kind of shows his character. Can we show any connection to Hunter Biden doing that securities fraud with that guy?
For scamming workers' pensions. I mean, how low can you get?
But Republicans say they will continue their inquiry, possibly move to criminal referrals for the Department of Justice. I will note Devin Archer, another Hunter business associate, you see the theme here of Hunter business associates, declined to come today after his attorney said they only were made aware of this just a few days ago. Kaylee.
David, keep us updated. Thank you. So Tony Bobulinski began by describing himself, Ainsley, his military service, his long history with the military. He's a successful businessman. He's a very credible witness. He has no motive here in not telling the truth. And here was his allegation against President Biden. Listen.
They had sort of coached me before Joe showed up to listen, we're going to just keep things at a very high level. We're not going to go into a lot of details in this meeting. And I just remember that discussion generally because it just struck me as odd, honestly. Joe wasn't in the White House then, and that they were sort of framing it that way. And then Joe showed up, walked through the lobby of the Beverly Hilton Hotel. I stood up to shake his hand, and we sat down and spent 45 minutes to an hour going through my background.
You met with him that long?
Yes. This wasn't a handshake, a 2-second discussion about the weather. This was a 45-minute long meeting to an hour where we talked about a lot of stuff. If Joe Biden...
Wait, hold on. Who is the guy? No, I did not mean fishing. Oh, that was Devin Archer. Okay.
Biden was not involved in his son's business dealings. Why, after flying all the way across the country to the Milken Conference, where there is next to Davos, is probably the biggest conference in the world, why would he take 45 minutes out of his night? It wasn't a 10 a.m. meeting. It was 10:40 in the evening. He's an elderly man, flew all the way across country to sit with me for 45 minutes to an hour.
He raises a great point, Ainsley.
Yeah, he does. He absolutely does.
I'm sorry, am I retarded? Can someone please tell me, am I retarded? Was there any allegation of illegality there? Can the Fox News people tell us what the allegation is? Could they play the clip for like 20 more seconds so that we know why this is bad?
Does have so many questions like he does.
Like, fuck, with the Trump indictments, they're like, this is what Trump said. This is why it's bad. Reddit, $34 a share. Thoughts? I don't know. I have no thoughts on that.
He does. Why? This is what I wrote down this morning. Why would Biden care about this prosecutor getting fired in Ukraine? Why would his son be on the board of Burisma when he's addicted to drugs? Why would China, a Chinese energy company, if you have that much money, you're smart about who you invest with?
Why is it that there's been no evidence that showed that Biden got him that job? Or is that what the allegation is? Is the allegation that Biden got him that job, or because his name is Biden, he got the job? Because if they want to make a law against nepotism, I'm not going to fight with them too hard on it, but also what is the allegation?
Why would a Chinese energy company pay millions of dollars to hunt?
Why would Donald Trump get $7.5 million from China and Russia over the course of his presidency while he was in office? I don't know.
Hunter Biden when he's addicted to drugs? Why are all the grandkids getting, big fat paydays? Why Hunter, why didn't he show up today when he wanted this public hearing? He doesn't show up. If he doesn't have anything to hide, you show up. And you're right about his reputation. He said,
didn't he show up for the last hearing that was supposed to be an open door hearing, but the night before they were informed that their star credible, witness against the Bidens turned out to literally be an actual fucking literal Russian agent, a literal, not figurative, not tangentially related to the Russian government, a literal paid for by the Russian government agent.
every man in his immediate family has served in the military. You can tell he's serious about this. Why would he betray a guy that he was in business with if he didn't want to just tell the truth?
Yeah, he called himself a patriot and a truth teller, and that's what I see when I watch him. Emily, there's someone who desperately wants to stop this hearing. His name is Jamie Raskin, and I couldn't get over the...
What's really bothering me with this video and the last fucking podcast is they're saying a lot of things, but they're actually not even making a fucking point. They're asking a bunch of fucking questions, but what is the answer that you're trying to get? Do the questions even like lead you to that answer? Well, why was Hunter Biden hired by Burisma? Why was he doing business with Chinese officials or whatever the fuck? Which I don't even know if that second one was proven or not, but whatever. Even if it was, what is the allegation? Can someone please give me what the fucking allegation? They were influence peddling? He wasn't elected in office. AOC asking bluntly, what's the crime? Thank you.
I have a quick question. Simple. Is it your testimony today that you personally witnessed President Joe Biden commit a crime?
I believe the fact that he was sitting with me while I was putting together a business deal.
Did you witness?
Oh, he's trying to weasel out of it. He's trying to weasel out of it, guys. I want to see this guy's finances, guys.
The president commit a crime. Is it your testimony today?
Yes.
And what crime have you witnessed?
How much time do I have to go through it?
It is simple. You name the crime. Did you watch him steal something?
Corruption statutes, RICO and conspiracy.
What is it? What is the crime, sir? Specifically.
You asked me to answer the question. I answered the question.
No.
RICO, you're obviously not familiar with. Corruption statutes.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. RICO is not a crime. It is a category. What is the
It's a category of crimes that you're then charged
You
under
have charges.
A long 100.
You have charges. Sir, please
Want me to name the exact statute under RICO?
Yes.
Well, it's funny. In this committee room, everyone's not here. There's over 18
All right, sir. I reclaim my
lawyers
time.
that went to law school.
I
I'll leave
reclaim
it
my
up to
time.
you guys
Okay,
to
thank
define
you,
the
sir. I
statute
reclaim my
under
time.
RICO.
Clearly, what we are seeing here today is a continuation of the 15-month saga of the Republican majority lost in the desert. Impeachment 101. The majority party, or whomever is raising impeachment, must accuse the president of a high crime, a specific high crime or misdemeanor. I would like to submit to the record HRES 918, the House resolution to open this impeachment inquiry.
Without objection to order.
This resolution does not outline a high crime or misdemeanor. It's not here. Now, when we compare the chairman's opening from his previous opening, he's talking about Ukraine and Burisma and all of this. This entire inquiry is based on a blockbuster piece of information that was in a classified SCIF room. And inside that room was a document alleging President Biden directly of a $10 million bribery scheme, extremely serious. What happened? What happened a month ago, Mr. Chairman? That document, the FBI arrested the person who offered those allegations for falsifying his testimony to the FBI. This entire impeachment inquiry is based on an actual, provable individual who has lied. Now, responsible leadership would withdraw an inquiry based on that. Withdraw it. Instead, what we are seeing is that this committee was warned about the falsehoods of these allegations long before that, warned by Trump's Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and yet they proceeded anyway. The chairman proceeded anyway. This committee was warned by Rudy Giuliani associate right here, Lev Parnas, after that document about the falsehoods of this. Then held hearings where your own expert witnesses said that there was no grounds for impeachment, and you proceeded anyway. And finally, as if none of this was enough, the FBI arrested the individual who was the source of the entire, to quote the chairman, heart of the matter, to launch this impeachment inquiry, and proceeded anyway. At this point, the story...
To quote the chairman, he was the heart of the inquiry, and it was proven that he falsified... AOC is sort of insufferable. A lot of the time, I would agree with you. But she's fucking spitting here. Here's where I'm at on politics, my friends. Okay? There has been so much more time spent in Congress in the past 2 years spent on trying to find any dirt on Biden that they can, rather than passing legislation. They've spent more time in Congress arguing over false allegations that have been proven to be false allegations, and they're still trying to prove information that's been proven to be false. When there's pressing matters that we need to take care of, that the Republicans say need to get taken care of. Shit at the border, funding shit to Israel, giving shit to Ukraine. Our border, which is like the Republicans' like biggest boogeyman in the entire fucking world. We had a bill that was overwhelmingly biased towards conservative wants on the border. Because the Democrats were willing to trade those policies and give a little, take a little, so that they could get Ukraine funding and so they could get funding for Israel. And they axed that. They said, no, we're not going to do that. That overwhelmingly conservative immigration bill, the most conservative immigration bill in 30 years, we're not going to do that. Trump wants to run on the issue of immigration. Well, let's go back to trying to find something that we can impeach Joe Biden for. Even though the guy that was the heart of the matter was proven to be a literal Russian asset. Bro.
Is not the fact that the basis of this impeachment inquiry is wrong. The story is why it's proceeding anyway. Why is this committee proceeding based on false charges? And by the way, no charges. I have yet to hear in the chairman's opening the allegation that they are specifically charging the president of the United States with. I'm hearing about Biden family. I'm hearing about this and that. I am not hearing the specific allegation by this committee. What is it? It's not here. And that is the problem. The story is when this committee knew that they were...
I think that the Republicans are just really horny and they just wanted an excuse to show Hunter Biden's cock on the House floor.
Working with falsified evidence. That's the story. And with that, I yield back.
I thought many people, not just Republicans, were getting opposed to funding Ukrainian aid anyways nowadays. Well, overwhelmingly, now the polling on this might have shifted since the last time I looked at it, but people support Ukraine and they want there to be funding for Ukraine. There is literally no downside to giving aid to Ukraine because it's not like we're giving them like stacks of cash. We're giving them munitions. And we're giving them munitions that we were going to have to explode because they were going to expire. And it costs more to detonate them in a safe way here in the United States than it does to ship them over to Ukraine to defend their own territory. So while the dollar amount in the munitions is in the millions, the actual amount of money that we're spending there is zero. We're actually saving money because the amount of aid that we're giving them, that being in munitions, all of those munitions would just be put in a bunker and in a controlled setting detonated here in the United States. There is literally zero downside. There is literally zero downside to sending munitions to Ukraine. Outside of like the policy level and like the argument over how much it costs, it's also like the moral thing to do. It's also in our national security interests. Because Russia is openly hostile to the United States. They're the second strongest nation that is opposed to the United States in the world, right behind China, right in front of Iran. The only reason we're not sending funding to Ukraine, I say the only reason, there's several reasons, but they're all stupid. They're all literally, they're not based in any truth. I have heard some foreign policy analysts like Noam Chomsky say American intervention is bad because it would alienate American-Russian relations long term. You know what would alienate our foreign policy aims worse? Allowing Russia and China to go on conquests of land. Thanks for the subscription, Donovan. Like, Russia, our relations with Russia can't get any lower, like, without going to war. Russia is actively fucking with the United States political system. Fuck, I heard, I listened to Destiny's stream. Let me see, Russian bot farms. There's an article that he was reading. Hold on. Let me go back in his VOD and see if we can see what the... Shut up.
Do you remember? It's just...
He will not be there.
Or was this yesterday that I heard reading this?
Micronesian basic.
Okay. I must have heard him reading this yesterday. Where is his channel? Let me see if I can find the name of the article that he was reading. One sec. Because it's just like, it is so unbelievable. No, I know where
Like
it was.
saying
He was
things
reading
wouldn't
it in an
necessarily say
article
otherwise.
or
It's probably
in a video. Hold on, videos. Cyber weapons get exposed.
Seeing the types of posts that Russians make.
Oh fuck. Posted by user Walk and Talk. Let me see if I can. Where is it? 7 hours ago. Let me scroll down this person's post history. Jesus Christ. Scroll down to a couple of days ago. Two days ago. Okay, here is the post. It's a long one, but we're going to read through it. Okay? This is why we should... one second, let me read what... I would agree with you, but I don't know if it's... I don't know if it's that Republicans don't want to fund Ukraine despite Biden as much as it is a strategic concern, and some progressives in Congress agree. I disagree with the progressives on a lot of things. The progressives have absolutely dog shit fucking foreign policy. I don't know what strategic concern there would be except for allowing Russia to do what they want. Okay. You're being targeted by disinformation networks that are vastly more effective than you realize, and they're making you more hateful and depressed. This is why we should do anything we can to push back against Russia, why we should do anything we can to push back against China, why we should be really skeptical about everything that we fucking see on the internet, right? I agree with you on this policy, but not you thinking it's a Biden spite and not a foreign policy concern. I have not heard a single legitimate concern about our foreign policy in regards to funding Ukraine. Outside of, well, it might hurt our relations with Russia, according to Noam Chomsky. But what is the downside? And the Biden spite is absolutely true, because they were about to pass a bill and then they didn't because Trump told them not to. Don't want America to be influential on the world stage? Well, those people should shut the fuck up. I don't care what they think. If they don't want us to be influential on the world stage, then they hate America. I love America. I want us to be influential on the world stage. We are influential on the world stage. We have the strongest fucking military the world has ever fucking seen. We have the biggest economy that the world has ever fucking seen. We have the best tech of any fucking country in the entire fucking world in the history of the human race in terms of almost any metric, in terms of like the power of a nation in human history. The United States is on top and has been for a long time. We are influential on the world stage. We have our responsibility to stand up for things that are right, to stand up for things that affect us here at home, like our foreign policy. Not make eagles fly over the screen. Like, listen, the more I learn about stuff, and the less susceptible I am to propaganda, the more I get. See you later, Ben. The more of an America simp I become, the more I learn how to parse information and to see what is a narrative-driven article, or what is like mostly fact, or like learn how to discern fact from fiction. The more I just think like, damn, the United States is actually like the good guy in like 90% of the situations, or 95% of the situations. Well, let's say 90. Let's say 90, 87. Yeah. Overwhelmingly, the things that we're doing are the right thing, or intended as the right thing. Okay, this better be a quick meme. I love America.
Things took a very interesting turn over the last.
Okay, hold on. Okay, we'll watch this. What's going on in Ukraine? How old is this? A year ago. Okay, so I'm probably caught up on what he's talking about here.
Just couple days, and it's really something if you follow at all the coverage of this in the corporate press, and then follow kind of like, you know, some good actual journalists of what's going on there, because this seems to have not really made much major news in America. And you would think, since everybody's changing their, you know, profile picture to Ukrainian flags and all of this, and this is like the #1 story now for about a month, that this would at least be somewhat of a story. And that is that this Zelensky character and the government of Ukraine seems to have gone what can only be described as full authoritarian. Have you seen any of this, Rob?
Is this a concern for us? They have martial law because they have missiles flying at them day in and day out. They have they're fighting what was thought to be the second most powerful military in the world. Probably is the second most powerful military in the world, but that's pretty depressing. Like, get all things considered, but like, is it surprising that a nation that is currently under siege with foreign troops in their borders become more authoritarian?
Well, just to give the full scope of how buried this story was, I read Google News, also the Google News for me. I go through Twitter, Wall Street Journal, The Drudge Report, Daily Beast, Week Magazine. I got quite a few things I read through on a daily basis. I only knew that this was
Hold on. Were any of those... let me hear what...
Full authoritarian. Have you seen any of this, Rob?
Well, just to give the full scope of how buried this story was, I read Google News, also the Google News for me. I go through Twitter, Wall Street Journal, The Drudge.
Okay, Wall Street Journal. That's a good one. Twitter News. Never. Hey guys, we're gonna read this post here in a minute. Don't get your news from social media, please. For the love of God, please don't get any of your news from social media. This article will tell you why, but fuck, dude.
Report, Daily Beast, Week Magazine. I got quite a few things I read through on a daily basis. I only knew that this was a story because you had sent it to me and I had to go to DuckDuckGo and search it. And there were some mainstream coverage of it, but it was not easily found.
Yeah.
So this was pretty buried.
Yeah, and look, it's really it's really something, and we'll get into like a few of the details about this, but it's not, again, like I want to try. I do try my best on the show to be like, somewhat fair with the stuff we're talking about. None of this
I get the
means
feeling that's
that
not true.
Vladimir Putin is justified. And none of this means that the Ukrainians don't have a right to defend themselves and to try to repel an invading army. I absolutely think they do. And I root for the war to end as quick as possible. And I root for as few innocent Ukrainians to die as possible or be hurt or displaced.
How much does it just look like we're sending them up for a slower, more painful death? Like the latest news is we're sending them like old Soviet.
Hey guys, by the way, just so like anyone watching that doesn't know this, the Ukrainians were actually doing pretty good against Russia until they ran out of bullets. they were kind of rolling. They stalled along the defensive line that the Russians made, but they were rolling. They had bullets. Now they don't have bullets. And now they're losing again because they don't have bullets.
Union anti-missile defense systems.
Well, this was an argument that the great Colonel Douglas MacGregor was making since the beginning of this war. That he was like, look, if you have a war where the Ukrainians can't win, a war against Russia, and you're not prepared, and he doesn't look at this like a libertarian ideologue like I am. He's not like an anti-war activist. He's a colonel, He's like looking at this like a military man. He's not like, this is immoral for us to get involved in this war. He's just like analyzing this. And he goes, look, if you have a war with Ukraine and Russia, and Ukraine can't win, and the United States of America, you're not willing to enter this war on behalf of Ukraine, then just encouraging them to fight and just sending them weapons and this stuff, this might just be like prolonging and extending this battle that they're doomed to lose. So you might just be creating a situation where just
if they want to fight for their country, as long as the Ukrainians want to fight, they have the right to fight. If we support Ukraine and they want to fight, sending them munitions is not a morally reprehensible thing.
far more Ukrainians are going to die than would have if you weren't encouraging them to fight and sending them weapons. And it's an interesting point that's, whether you agree with it completely or not, is certainly worth thinking about. But look, you can say that, Vladimir Putin is wrong and you hope Ukraine wins the war and that Ukraine has every right to defend themselves and all of this stuff. But if you're talking about this situation and everyone's going to be putting Ukrainian flags up in their profile pictures, and even more than that, the fact that the mindless, idiotic talking point that is just repeated over and over again is how Ukraine is a democracy, then Ukraine represents freedom, and Vladimir Putin represents authoritarianism.
Because it's a level one, like, engagement with the topic from someone that broadly doesn't like Russia going in and fucking murdering a bunch of Ukrainians and taking their fucking land, right? It's a level one engagement, but that's not what the reasons why we're doing it. We're not doing it because Ukraine is a democracy and it's like a shining beacon of morality over in the fucking Eastern Europe. We're doing it because Ukraine and the United States, we've been working together for a long time. We had like tons of treaties with them. They've been working very closely with us. Russia invades them. And then we're going to give them fucking weapons because Russia is also our enemy. This is who he's citing. Why is the frame rate like 2 frames per second? 5 days into Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine.
The first 5 days, Russian forces, I think, frankly, were too gentle. They've now corrected that. So I would say another 10 days, this should be completely over. But the question is, what is it that Zelensky is going to do? The Russians have made it very clear what they want is a neutral Ukraine. This could have ended days ago if he accepted that. And then they can adjust the borders. But the eastern part of Ukraine is firmly in Russian hands. But again, the Russians are not seizing territory. They're destroying Ukrainian forces. That's their focus.
Colonel, it sounds like you don't approve of Zelensky's stand.
Oh, I think Zelensky is a puppet. And he is putting huge numbers of his own population at unnecessary risk. And quite frankly, most of what comes out of Ukraine is debunked as lies within 24 to 48 hours. The notions of taking and retaking airfields, all of this is nonsense. It hasn't happened.
He's not a hero when he's standing up for himself and his own people. You don't think he's a hero?
No, I do not. I don't see anything heroic about the man. And I think the most heroic thing that he can do right now is to come to terms with reality. Neutralize Ukraine. This is not a bad thing. A neutral Ukraine would be good for us as well as for Russia. It would create the buffer that, frankly, both sides want. But he's, I think, being told to hang on.
They don't want a neutral Ukraine. They want a Ukraine that's under their fucking thumb. I hate these fucking people so fucking much.
Yeah, I mean, well, they really haven't even been for quite a while. Look, they overthrew a democratically elected government in 2014. And when I say that, I just mean an uprising.
They protested against a guy that went back on something that they voted for. So he was doing something very undemocratic. They protested. Then he started sniping them. And so it turned into a fucking riot. And then it became like a full-on, revolution. So they didn't just like go in and like overthrow fucking Yanukovych for no reason. He was shooting them. There's videos of them getting sniped by the president's people. And they didn't like that very much. He ran away.
Of regular Ukrainian people, like Secretary of State John Kerry and Victoria Nuland and George Soros. Just like regular Ukrainians.
Oh, George Soros.
But they overthrew a democratically elected government in 2014. There's no disputing that. So I don't know how many points you get to be a democracy if you overthrew a democratically elected government this decade.
Watching him react to, argue. Well, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're trying to say.
Within the last 10 years or whatever, then I don't think you get too many.
Try to argue this against Sitch and Adam is amazing. Oh, bro, is this one of the guys? I didn't watch it, so I didn't recognize his face. Is he one of the people that went on with Jimmy Dore? Because that was unbelievably fucking brutal.
But just over the last few days, President Zelensky has officially banned his rival political party. He has absorbed several media outlets under state control.
Oh, wasn't that political party literally like a Russian, like pro-Russian party that was like trying to like end the war and become a satellite state of Russia again? Okay.
And has been imprisoning political opponents, which he's already been doing before this war, but doing even more of that. I mean, okay, now that doesn't.
And even if all of that is true, let's assume that everything that he says there is true, which it's not, but let's assume everything that he's saying is very true. It's just like a horribly corrupt, anti-democratic place. I'm still not hearing an argument for why we shouldn't be sending munitions to Ukraine to fight against Russia, the second strongest enemy that we have. Not hearing a good argument for that.
Doesn't mean that any of the other things have changed. You could still be against Russia's invasion. You could still root for the Ukrainians to win and say they have the right to defend themselves. But that is relevant information that you would think, if we were going to be talking about this whole situation, would at least come up. Again, even if there were two like completely authoritarian countries and one invaded the other one, you could still say that country is wrong for initiating a war against the other one. Even all the other.
We have something called international law, where you're not supposed to invade another country, and you're damn sure not supposed to invade another country to acquire their land. Like,
again, even if there were two like completely authoritarian countries and one invaded the other one, you could still say that country is wrong for initiating a war against the other one. Even all the other factors, putting all of that aside for a second. But this really does just poke not a little bit of a hole, but it just, explodes. It just demolishes the argument of like, well, but Ukraine is this free democracy, and
but that's again, like, it's not the argument.
Russia is this authoritarian country. It's like, no. Like, this guy is clearly going full authoritarian, and none of this stuff is like, oh, this is necessary for the war effort. In fact, his rival political party there, they were opposed to Russia as well, and they condemned the Russian invasion.
No, they were. They might have condemned the invasion, but they were pro Russia.
Certainly, I think we're not as pro.
Iraq has entered the chat. Hey, say what you will about foreign policy blunders from previous administrations in the United States, okay? We never tried to annex anything, okay? We never tried to take any land, all right? The Iraq War, not a good thing. But just because the United States has done something bad in the past does not mean that we're doing something bad now.
West and anti-Russian as Zelensky's party. But this is for Ukraine on the level of Joe Biden just using the federal government to declare to make the Republican Party illegal. There's no Republicans anymore, just by state.
Because COVID's such a threat, and they're trying to roll it back. So we're not getting rid of the Republican Party.
It would be something on that level. So anyway, it's just
No, it's not something on that level. It would be like a literal party that was pro-China. It would be like if Taiwan had a pro-China party that during the invasion of Taiwan in 2027 started saying, hey, we should actually make peace with China and actually do everything that they want. Like, fuck off.
just like it's a little bit it's kind of wild to see this go not unreported, but again, like not getting nearly the amount of coverage that it clearly warrants. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the articles I had read, it sounded like there were 11 parties they got rid of. One of them, which was the biggest rival, was a pro-Russian party. However, and I understand like the idea of martial law or like that side is more in line with the invading country. But I don't know in the next two elections, but if in the next election everyone voted for that party,
Also, like, think about this. Like, if you're a lawmaker in a country, you're going to be given access to sensitive information that the public wouldn't be able to see. And if one of the parties in your government is actively pro the country that is invading and killing your people, and their lawmakers have access to that information, it might not be perfectly democratic. It might not be like in the purest sense, the best democracy move in the world. But in the moment that you're in, it's probably the correct move to make.
which is basically hey, let's not be at war with Russia, then that's still a democratic process. Like to remove that other option from the table.
Then you're not a democracy anymore. I'm not just championing that democracy is the greatest thing ever, but the people who are supporting this war are saying that. So, okay, even if you're going to claim that they're a pro-Russia party, which I don't know if that's completely accurate, they certainly were more.
That was the harshest claim, but
right.
even that, that's still an element of democracy that people might go, I'd actually prefer the pro-Russian party because maybe they'll side with Russia and work this out.
Yes, that's a good point.
As an option.
Yes, so if, let's say, hypothetically, they were a pro-Russia party and Ukraine is so against Russia, well, then okay, so no problem. So then they won't vote for that party, right? So what's the issue? And I think the more that you learn about the situation in Ukraine, the more you realize that it's kind of like a very similar thing with a lot of countries, maybe even our own country, that there are different groups within these countries who are so radically opposed to each other that it probably doesn't really make sense that they're all one country. And the truth is that since 2014, the conflicts between the Donbass region there in the east of the country and
the fucking conflict in the Donbass was Russia. It wasn't. Russia invaded them. They gave them the fucking Wagner Group. Where's the fucking... We just saved this video. 1 second. History. Or not history. Watch later. We saved it.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has disclosed details of Russia's annexation of Crimea in a new documentary which will be broadcast on Russian television. Putin said the plan was hatched as former Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych fled to Russia. In a trailer of the film, produced by Russian state TV Rossiya 1, Putin says he tasked the Russian...
They just have the... Why is... I can't listen to it fast because there's like another voice in the background.
Special forces with saving Yanukovych's life. Putin said, quote, I invited the chiefs of our special services. The Ministry of Defense to the Kremlin tasked them with saving the Ukrainian president's life. He simply might have been eliminated. Putin described an all-night meeting in which he and his top advisors discussed the situation in Ukraine and concluded that they needed to return Crimea to Russia. Unmarked soldiers began appearing in Crimea in late February of 2014. At first, the unknown forces stormed the regional parliament building and installed new authorities. The Little Green Men, as they were referred to by locals, also stationed themselves near Ukrainian military installations throughout the peninsula. The Kremlin initially denied having anything to do with the events in Crimea, although Putin would later admit that he indeed sent Russian soldiers into Crimea ahead of the annexation.
So there's no question. They sent troops. And this is just like one of the people that was there, like that was part of the operation saying, yeah, we did that. Yeah, I was there, bitch. This was not some like random uprising of people in the Donbass trying to fight for independence so that they could stay with Russia. This was Russia starting a civil war in Ukraine with their own troops, giving them munitions for fucking 10 years.
More Western pro-European side of this, they've been basically at war with each other, and there really doesn't seem to be any reason why they should all be under one government, because none of them seem happy with the governments that the other one would like. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the Donbass region should be part of Russia. Maybe they should just be independent. I don't know. It's not my job to decide how Ukraine should be divided up. But it is like, if we're just being honest here and calling a spade, no, Ukraine is not a free country at all, and it's certainly not a democracy. And what's interesting about this, and it's one of the things as you as you look at this, to me it seems almost impossible to ignore. It's like the idea of I always felt like, even back in the day, in the original war on terror, that it was always so ridiculous that Washington D.C. would say, we're going to go bring freedom to Iraq or something like that. And you're like, to bring freedom to Iraq? Like, we have the biggest prison population in the world, and huge numbers of them are there for like nonviolent victimless crimes. I mean, bring freedom to other people. And to try to maybe if you were operating a truly free society, someone could think you had a leg to stand on, that you're going to spread this freedom around the world. But it's like, well, and it was the neocons, like at the same time that they're like instituting the TSA and the Patriot Act, they're like, we're going to spread freedom. And you're like, well, all right. In the only area that you actually have control over, you're cracking down on freedom. But this is like, after the last 2 years, the idea that Washington D.C., that the group of lawyers in D.C. That are politicians are going to say, hey, we're really concerned with protecting freedom. Excuse me? I mean, if it wasn't for like a narrative.
Okay, so this didn't like lay out any of the things that, any of the reasons why we should. It was like a straw man of what it means to support Ukraine. Got it. All right. You're being targeted by disinformation networks that are vastly more effective than you realize, and they're making you more hateful and depressed. TLDR. You know that Russia and other governments try to manipulate people online, but you almost certainly don't know just how effectively orchestrated influence networks are using social media platforms to make you individually angry, depressed, and hateful towards each other. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Those networks' goal is simple: to cause Americans and other Westerners, especially young ones, to give up on social cohesion and give up on learning the truth, so that Western countries lack the will to stand up to authoritarians and extremists. And you probably don't realize how well it's working on you. This is a long post, but I wrote it because this problem is real, and it's much scarier than you think. How Russian networks fuel racial and gender wars to make Americans fight one another. In September 2018, a video went viral after being posted by In the Now, a social media news channel. It featured a feminist activist pouring bleach on a male subway passenger for manspreading. It got instant attention with millions of views and wide social media outrage. Reddit users wrote that it had turned them against feminism. Let's see if the links still work. No video, but this is what it is. Guys manspreading, and she's pouring water mixed with bleach on their junk. There was one problem. The video was staged, and In the Now, which publicized it, is a subsidiary of RT, formerly Russia Today, the Kremlin TV channel aimed at foreign English-speaking audiences. As an MIT study found in 2019, Russia's online influence networks reached 140 million Americans every month, the majority of U.S. social media users. Russia began using troll farms a decade ago to incite gender and racial divisions in the United States. In 2013, Yevgeny Prigozhin, I don't know if you guys know who that is, but he's the guy that was the leader of the Wagner Group, a mercenary group that is basically controlled by the Kremlin through Prigozhin until it wasn't. A confidant of Vladimir Putin founded the Internet Research Agency, the IRA, in St. Petersburg. It was the Russian government's first coordinated facility to disrupt U.S. society and politics through social media. Here's what Prigozhin had to say about the IRA's efforts to disrupt the 2022 election. Gentlemen, we interfered. We interfere and we will interfere. Carefully, precisely, surgically, and in our own way, as we know how. During our pinpoint operations, we will remove both kidneys and the liver at once. In 2014, the IRA and other Russian networks began establishing fake U.S. activist groups on social media. By 2015, hundreds of English-speaking young Russians worked at the IRA. Their assignment was to use those false social media accounts, especially on Facebook and Twitter, but also Reddit, Tumblr, 9gag, and other platforms, to aggressively spread conspiracy theories and mocking ad hominem arguments that incite American users. In 2017, U.S. intelligence found that Blacktivist, a Facebook and Twitter group with more followers than the official Black Lives Matter movement, was operated by Russia. Blacktivist regularly attacked America as racist and urged black users to reject major candidates. On November 2nd, 2016, just before the 2016 election, Blacktivist Twitter urged black Americans, choose peace and vote for Jill Stein. Trust me, it's not a wasted vote. Russia plays both sides on gender, race, and religion. The brilliance of the Russian influence campaign is that it convinces Americans to attack each other, worsening both misandry and misogyny, mutual racial hatred, and extreme anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. In short, it's not just an effort to boost the right wing, it's an effort to radicalize everybody. He had an unexplained malfunction on his plane when it was struck by an ST. Yes. Nobody understands how it was shot out of the sky. One sec. Russia uses its trolling networks to aggressively attack men. According to MIT, in 2019, the most popular black-oriented Facebook page was the charmingly named "My Baby Daddy Ain't Shit." It regularly posts memes attacking black men and government welfare workers. It serves two purposes: make poor black women hate men and goad black men into flame wars. MIT found that My Baby Daddy is run by a large troll network in Eastern Europe, likely financed by Russia. But Russian influence networks are also aggressively misogynistic and aggressively anti-LGBT. On January 23, 2017, just after the first Women's March, the New York Times found that the Internet Research Agency began a coordinated attack on the movement. Per the Times, more than 4,000 miles away, organizations linked to the Russian government had assigned teams to the Women's March. At desks in bland offices in St. Petersburg, using models derived from advertising and public relations, copywriters were testing out social media messages critical of the Women's March movement, adopting the personas of fictional Americans. How's it going, Sig? They posted as black women critical of white feminism, conservative women who felt excluded, and men who mocked participants as hairy-legged whiners. But the Russian PR teams realized that one attack worked better than the rest. They accused its co-founder, an Arab American Linda Sarsour, of being an anti-Semite. Over the next 18 months, at least 152 Russian accounts regularly attacked Sarsour. That may not seem like many accounts, but it worked. They drove the Women's March movement into disarray and eventually crippled the organization. Russia doesn't need a million accounts or even that many likes or upvotes. It just needs to get enough attention that actual Western users begin amplifying its content. A former federal prosecutor who investigated the Russian disinformation summarized it like this. It wasn't exclusively about Trump and Clinton anymore. It was deeper and more sinister and more diffuse in its focus on exploiting divisions within society on any number of different levels. As the New York Times reported in 2022, there was a routine. Arriving for a shift, Russian disinformation workers would scan news outlets on the ideological fringes, far left and far right, mining for extreme content that they could publish and amplify on the platforms, feeding extreme views into mainstream conversations. China is joining in with AI. How far are we into this? Oh, fuck. Okay. About 60% through. China is joining in with AI. Last month, the New York Times reported on a new disinformation campaign. Spamouflage is an effort by China to divide Americans by combining AI with real images of the United States to exacerbate political and social tensions in the U.S. The goal appears to be to cause Americans to lose hope by promoting exaggerated stories with fabricated photos about homeless violence and the risk of civil war. As Ladislav Bitbin, a former Czechoslovakian secret police operative, explained about Soviet disinformation, the strategy is not to invent something totally fake. Rather, it is to act like an evildoer who expertly diagnoses the patient's vulnerabilities and exploits them, prolongs his illness, and speeds him to an early grave instead of curing him. The influence networks are vastly more effective than platforms admit. Russia now runs its most sophisticated online influence efforts through a network called Fabrika. Fabrika's operators have bragged that social media platforms catch only 1% of the fake accounts across YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, and Telegram, and other platforms. But how effective are these efforts? By 2020, Facebook's most popular pages for Christian and Black American content were run by Eastern European troll farms tied to the Kremlin. And Russia doesn't just target angry boomers on Facebook. Russian trolls are enormously active on Twitter and even on Reddit. The strategy is to spin people towards the extremist bins. It's to create so much disinformation, so much ambiguity in what is the truth, that people stop looking for the truth because it's too difficult. And instead, reaffirming their own preconceived biases. It's not just false facts. The term disinformation undersells the problem because much of Russia's social media activity is not trying to spread fake news. Instead, the goal is to divide and conquer by making Western audiences depressed and extreme. Sometimes through brigading and trolling. Other times by posting hyper-negative or extremist posts or opinions about the U.S., the West, the U.S., the West over and over until readers assume that's how most people feel. And sometimes by using trolls to disrupt threads that advance Western unity. Save this one as well. Okay, I'll check it out in a little bit. As the RAND think tank explained, the Russian strategy is volume and repetition from numerous accounts to overwhelm real social media users and create the appearance that everyone disagrees with or even hates them. And it's not just low-quality bots. Per RAND, Russian propaganda is produced in incredibly large volumes and is broadcast or otherwise distributed via a large number of channels. According to a former paid Russian internet troll, the trolls are on duty 24 hours a day in 12-hour shifts, and each has a daily quota of 135 posted comments of at least 200 characters. This is where I get my most anti-First Amendment takes from. Okay? This is where I get my most extreme anti-First Amendment takes from. I think that we should ban users from non-allied or any nation that's not, an enemy to the United States should be able to have users on their platform. But I think that Facebook, I think that Twitter, I think that all of these major, social media corporations, I'm seriously on the train of thought that we should just not allow people from like Belarus, Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, or Venezuela. Those are like the people that are actively antagonistic towards the United States. This makes me wonder, is Sondsol a fake American and he's actually a Russian psyop? Listen. I know I've said, and I should come clean. I know I've said I live in Houston, but I actually live in St. Petersburg, okay? The reason I misspeak so often, the reason I stumble through my words is because English is my actually fourth language. So What this means for you. You're being targeted by a sophisticated PR campaign meant to make you more resentful, bitter, and depressed. It's not just disinformation, it's also real-life human writers and advanced bot networks working hard to shift the conversation to the most negative and divisive topics and opinions. Hey, I appreciate it, Caleb. Where was I? It's why some topics seem to go from non-issues to constant controversy and discussion with no clear reason across social media platforms. You guys ever wonder why, like, oh man, all of a sudden it feels like everybody's like freaking the fuck out about transgenocide. It feels like everybody's freaking the fuck out about trans people. It feels like everybody's freaking the fuck out about, black youth. It feels like everybody's freaking the fuck, like, where is this coming from? Why all of a sudden are people talking about this? Some people would say that it's, left-wing subversives that are trying to, indoctrinate our kids into being trans. And some people would say that it's right-wing people who are, trying to find something to galvanize their voters to vote for left-wing or right-wing people. But the reality is those two extremes in the United States do exist. And there has been evidence of those things in the United States. Overwhelmingly, it's fucking Russians and Chinese fucking nationals trying to fucking divide us. Say something in another language, omelette du fromage. So what can you do? Oh, wait, hold on. It's why some topics seem to go from non-issues to constant controversy across social media platforms. And a lot of those trolls are actual professional, quote unquote, writers whose job it is to sound real. So what can you do? To quote war games, the only winning move is to not play. The reality is that you cannot distinguish disinformation accounts from real social media users. Unless you know whom you're talking to, there's a genuine chance that the post, tweet, or comment you are reading is an attempt to manipulate you, politically or emotionally. Here are some thoughts. Don't accept facts from social media accounts you don't know. Russian, Chinese, and other manipulation efforts are not uniform. Some will make deranged claims, but others will tell half-truths. Or they'll spin facts about a complicated subject, be it the war in Ukraine or loneliness in young men, to give you a warped view of reality and spread division in the West. Resist groupthink. A key element of manipulative networks is volume. People are naturally inclined to believe statements that have broad support. When a post gets 5,000 upvotes, it's easy to think the crowd is right, but the crowd could be fake accounts. And even if they're not, the brilliance of government manipulation campaigns is that they say things people are already predisposed to think. They'll tell conservative audiences something misleading about a Democrat, or make up a lie about Republicans that catches fire on a liberal server or subreddit. Don't let social media warp your view of society. This is something that I fell into. I think the worst of it was in 2020. It wasn't just last year. I think it was 2022 when I started getting like constantly shit on by like lefties, and I started like trying to. I started doing the resist groupthink thing, right? But I was just going from one groupthink to another, and I realized that pretty quickly. And part of that was me going out and touching grass a lot more than I used to. Part of that was the gained ability from moving away from one groupthink, learning how to do some research, learning how to discern fact from fiction, et cetera, et cetera. One of those skills that I got through resisting groupthink helped me get out of the other groupthink and helped me not let social media warp my view of society. I don't believe a goddamn thing I see on Twitter. And this, that might sound like just like, oh yeah, everybody says this and everybody, falls for it. I don't take anything that happens on Twitter at face value, ever. I don't take, when someone asks me about a Twitter headline, I immediately go and I read an article about it, and it's always wrong. While I was in DC, the stuff about Trump talking about a bloodbath came up, and I was asked about it. I didn't say, well, sounds like Trump. I opened up my phone. I looked up Trump bloodbath. I read the full context. I said, oh, it doesn't look like he's, advocating for political violence or anything. It doesn't look like he's advocating for political violence. It seems like he's talking about the American auto industry. He shouldn't be using rhetoric like that, but that's not what he was talking about. I think we're fine. They teach you critical thinking in high school over there? No, they don't. So don't let social media warp your view of society. This is harder than it seems, but you need to accept that the facts and I don't know if this is as hard for you guys to see as it is for me, these different colors. But you need to accept that the facts and the opinions you see across social media are not reliable. If you want the news, do what everyone online says not to. Look at the serious mainstream media. It is not always right. Sometimes it screws up. But social media narratives are heavily manipulated by networks whose job it is to ensure you are deceived, angry, and divided. Edited for typos and clarity. Apparently, this post was removed several hours ago due to a flood of reports. Thank you to the r/Gen Z moderators for reapproving it. This post is not meant to suggest that r/Gen Z is uniquely or especially vulnerable, or to suggest that a lot of challenges people discuss here are not real. It's entirely the opposite. Growing loneliness, political polarization, and increasing social division along gender lines is real. The problem is that disinformation influence networks expertly and effectively hijack those conversations and use those real, serious issues to poison the conversation. This post is not about left or right. Everyone is targeted. The best thing school taught me was media literacy. Like, any person you meet online can lie. Right. But nobody, like, all the boomers told us never trust anyone that you meet online. Don't believe anything that you see on the internet. Right. But then boomers became like target number one for these things. Look at Discord pictures I sent. Texian, deeply concerned with warm water ports. Dig Spur. How do you do, fellow Texans? Okay, hold on. This is obviously a... Oh my God, there's so many layers. Okay, let's read here. Jason Dorman, Texit now. Native Texan voicing the restoration of our republic. Reins aren't in the hands of despotic Washington district of criminals. Time to saddle up and dig spur. What the fuck does that mean? Texas is a superpower, 8th largest economy now, 50th by population in the world. A warm water port, oil, natural gas, and major tech industries. Our own power grid and military as well. When the literal fuck are we waiting for? An invitation? This is obviously a Russian. Only Russia talks about the value of a warm water port. That's so fucking brutal, and it's so fucking true. I didn't even know about warm water ports until fucking the Ukraine war started happening, and people started talking about Sevastopol and shit. Oh man, that's so true. Only Russia talks about the value of a warm water port because the U.S. as a whole has several, and this has never been an issue for us. Native Texian. It's Texan. How do you do, fellow Texans? That is pretty fucking brutal. Okay, last thing.
Невыносимые условия. Противник уже почти создал для нас такие невыносимые условия. И он стремился навстречу Моспину, навстречу Иловайску, для того, чтобы сомкнуть клещи где-то по центральной магистрали, по единственной магистрали, по которой мы общались или сообщались с Луганском.
И, следовательно, тогда с Россией, потому
Конечно.
что...
Да, где-то отрезать нас на уровне Харциска, вот, Донецко-Макеевскую агломерацию от сообщения с Россией. И тревога тогда...
Hold on, what is this in reference to? Field commander of the DPR, okay, oh fuck, Donetsk People's Republic, Alexander Todakovsky, admitted that 2014 Russian sent its troops to Donbass. He said that the Russian army captured part of eastern Ukraine, which later began to be called DPR and LPR.
Да, просто висело в воздухе. Мы с трудом справлялись с ситуацией.
So this was not the 2022 invasion. This was the 2014 invasion. Jesus. Yeah, because the U.S. coast is pretty much warm water. Well, warm water ports means like you can sail out of it at any point in the year. And I don't think that any of our ports are, you know, like frozen over at any point during the year. I had this thought this morning, how many dating accounts are just bots or whatever? Well, a lot of them I've heard nowadays are, I want to bookmark this. How do I, okay, save it. Done. Okay, I'm going to run. I'm going to take a piss. All right. If you guys have any final memes that you guys want us to go over, we're going to, now is the time for you guys to post that shit in chat. If you guys haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube. Please consider becoming a member on, or a subscriber on Kick. There's also if you want to support me, there's a donation link in the link or in the description below the YouTube video. Maybe there's one in the YouTube Shorts one. I don't know exactly how that works quite yet. But I desperately have to pee. So give me 1 minute and I'll be right back. Okay. Did you see my IRS content suggestion? Let me see. Let's look here. The IRS is finally taxing rich people. Well, sort of. How long is it?
Last week.
Okay. We will go over that one tomorrow. I'll save that one for tomorrow because I don't have a whole lot of time because I have not had a full meal today and I'm starting to get like the lack of food headache, you know? But let me see here. I am curious. Whoa.
All right, goodbye.
Ooh, can we even watch this on stream? What the fuck? It happened in Houston.
Those were Kerry Birmingham's last words to his wife Patricia before he killed her with his shot.
Okay. Let me just scroll through. Okay. Looks like we're not going to get killed. If we can't get to this today.
Let's move to the mod.
Oh, is this the can we go over it next stream? Here's my thing. On one hand, like I am very interested in watching this and I want to like sit down and go through it or watch or whatever the fuck. Either on my own time or on stream. But the problem is on stream, I don't like watching things. I don't like watching things that are like hours long. It is very rare that I'll go over anything that is over like 30 minutes. It's rare that I'll go over anything that's 30 minutes long. It's just so long. And it's not like I can add anything to this that won't be said in it, right? Because I'm going to agree with probably 90% of what, or 99%, because I'm just not as educated on Israel-Palestine as Destiny is. So I'll probably just be like, oh, that was a good point there. Like we could watch it for the memes, but we can do a 1.25, but then it's hard to understand them. It's just like, it's too long of a thing. I want to watch it. It's just a very long thing. I'm thinking about it, but you know, any plans to have a regular schedule in the next coming days? I am trying. Destiny has a lot of better debates with nobodies. I mean, it's content. It's just like, I'm not the kind of streamer that can like sit down for, you know, hours and hours and hours and watch the same goddamn video that entire time and have something interesting.
This is a message from the Australian government. Have you witnessed a crime, cover-up or corruption in your government department?
What is this?
Have your internal complaints been ignored and you're thinking of blowing the whistle? If so, our whistleblower laws are here to protect you.
Yeah, it is satire. Wait, what is this supposed to be about?
Just kidding. You'll be prosecuted, bankrupted, and spend the rest of your life in jail. Lol. No, seriously, you're fucked. Like David, who blew the whistle on war crimes in Afghanistan, including the murder of children. An official inquiry confirmed the war crimes took place. The journo who published the war crimes got an OAM. The soldier who allegedly committed the war crimes got a medal. And the guy who helped reveal the war crimes, he's about to get life in jail. Cool and normal. As is Richard, who exposed how the ATO's debt collection practices were ruining people's lives. Both sought protection under our Public Interest Disclosure Act. Fools. The way the act works is simple. It doesn't. Because in the 10 years since we introduced it, the number of whistleblowers it's protected comes to approximately fuck all. And that's because whenever someone exposes our shit fuckery in the public interest, we come up with a bullshit reason to deny them protection. Take Richard. 3 inquiries confirmed his concerns. The ATO ceased the unethical practices, but we still prosecuted him for recording evidence of the misconduct before exposing it. How else was he meant to blow the whistle? He wasn't, silly. And David? We prevented him from using key evidence and witnesses to defend himself under the act. Because, national security? security, thereby forcing him to plead guilty. And that is why the first person to face jail in relation to war crimes in Afghanistan isn't a war criminal, but the guy who exposed the war crimes. Some say this.
Opinion on Free Assange or Snowden? I don't particularly care for either of those guys. But it's also like some people make it their entire political advocacy to advocate for them. That's super cool. I just Assange is not like this like great whistleblower that was only looking out for the interests of everybody in the country or whatever the fuck, or he was interested in exposing criminality or whatever, because he was very blatant and very honest. Probably shouldn't have been this honest, in that he wanted to, he was totally fine with dropping details on Hillary Clinton, but he didn't feel like dropping any of the dirt they had on Donald Trump. But he should be back in Australia if he needs to be in jail. Is he Australian? I don't know anything about him. I think that it's good to have whistleblowers. I think it's good to have the ability to criticize your government and to show like misconduct and shit like that. But I also don't think that it should be, I think it should go through the proper channels, and those proper channels shouldn't be like Australia's, I guess. All right. I think Snowden did some good stuff. I've just never really looked into Snowden whatsoever. Assange, I think, is a piece of shit though. And didn't he like fuck a child in Sweden?
Shows our whistleblower protection laws are broken. But we say, relax. They're protecting us and our mates from whistleblowers just fine. That's why they're called whistleblower protection laws. Duh. Because remember, here at the Australian government, we're America's bitch. And that means keeping a lid on all the shitfuckery in the illegal wars we blindly follow America into. Like Afghanistan. Which explains why we're prosecuting David. And doing jack shit to bring Julian home. Because as you can see, you can't spell shitfuckery.
Well, Julian Assange is a piece of shit. Wasn't a kid. Hold on. There was some allegation of him like having sex with someone that was like 14 or 15 years old. But maybe I fell for the Russian disinformation. I don't know, but I've never looked into it, so.
Without an S, a T, an F, and a U. And the best way of teaching those 4 letters to all the other would-be truth-tellers out there is by making an example of anyone who exposes said shitfuckery. But hang on, didn't we promise to strengthen whistleblower laws if you elected us? We did. And didn't our Attorney General just write a big essay about how he's restoring trust in government with integrity and blah blah blah? He did. While you wait, here's his latest review of our secrecy laws. Just don't read the fine print where it says he'll still prosecute whistleblowing if it undermines Australians' trust in government. Let's unpack that together. What he's saying is, if you knew what goes on here, you wouldn't trust us. So to make you trust us, we'll make sure you don't know what goes on here.
The first half of this, I was like, okay, sure. The some of the reading into that, I don't know. I would like to read the actual, but I also don't care about Australia, so fuck it. All right. Oh, okay. Yeah, hold on. Let's watch this.
Okay. All right. Goodbye, Reese. Nice to know you. You gonna meet Jesus.
Those were Kerry Birmingham's last words to his wife, Patricia, before he killed her with his shotgun outside their home in Spring. In the video, you can hear he fired 3 times.
Hope it was worth it.
This all going down while their teenage daughter, Olivia, was at school.
I lost both my parents that day. My dad died that day too. Because the person who did that to my mom and my father aren't the same person.
Never tried to justify the actions of our client. But the defense wasn't about justification. It was about why he did what he did.
Olivia finds her father's defense questionable at best.
I don't know. That sudden passion. You have to have something. You have to have made that decision within you for a while. I feel like to do that to somebody you really, really love.
Gentlemen's time's expired. Chair now recognize Mr. Goldman for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I only have 5 minutes, Mr. Bobulinski, so I'm going to try to move quickly, and I'd appreciate if you just answer the questions. You testified that Joe Biden was involved in your business venture related to Oneida Holdings and Hunter Biden. So I want to drill down on the crux of what your testimony is. Oneida Holdings is the business venture that you are referring to, correct?
When I'm referring to what? Can you
Any business you did with the Bidens?
My reference is to Sinohawk Holdings, LLC, and Oneida Holdings, LLC own 50% of that.
Right. And Oneida Holdings was the 50% that was on the American side of that Sinohawk deal, right?
It was the 50% that was the Biden
This
side.
is the guy that is the last standing, the last person that the Republicans have to say that the Bidens did something wrong. And he doesn't even have like a specific allegation of what the Bidens did wrong from like the previous clip we watched. So I don't know exactly. We should do a deep dive into this maybe at some point. I don't know. I'm running out of steam very rapidly. This is probably the last video, but I'm super interested.
It was the 50% that was the Biden side of it. Some of the, James Gilliar is not an American, so.
Sorry, fair enough. And it was a joint partnership memorialized in an incorporating document, correct? And it had equal shares.
Imagine being the intern that just has to like stand there at a fucking hearing, holding a fucking board over your face, waiting for this guy to hurry the fuck up.
Divided among 5 partners. Is that right?
Well, I can't.
Well,
are you asking me about what you're holding up? Because
sir, was it an equal? Were there equal 20% shares among 5 partners?
In what?
Oneida Holdings.
In the final signed documents?
Yes.
Is that what you're asking me?
Yes.
It is?
Not complicated.
Well, it is because.
All right, you're just filibustering now. The answer is you're filibustering. I get it. That there were 5 partners: Hunter Biden, Jim Biden, Rob Walker, James Gilliar, and you. Each owned 20%. Do you?
Well, they didn't each own. Their LLCs owned it, which is a material
Do you
difference.
see Joe Biden or an LLC related to Joe Biden on this?
I don't know if Joe Biden owned any of Jim Biden's LLC or Hunter Biden's LLC. I'll leave that up to the committee.
Okay. And do you know when this agreement was entered into?
The poster board that you're holding up, or the actual legal document that was signed?
The agreement, sir.
Shut the fuck up. Oh my God, he is right now. So the reason he's asking these fucking stupid retard questions is because he doesn't want to answer. This guy right here has only a certain limited amount of time to ask questions and to grill him. So the longer he can filibuster, like this guy said, the longer he can stall, the less questions this guy will get to ask him.
The poster board that you're holding up, or the actual legal document that was signed?
The agreement, sir.
The agreement.
The agreement was signed May 22nd, 2017. Who was the vice president then?
May 22nd, you said? I think it was Mike Pence.
Who was the president?
Donald Trump.
Okay. And when did you first meet Hunter Biden?
I first met Hunter Biden in early 2017.
When?
Filibustering is a legitimate thing in Congress. This isn't a literal filibuster, okay? He's trying to run down the clock. That's not what a filibuster is. A filibuster is where you like sit there and you try to, you speak for so long to stop a vote from happening. This isn't a literal filibuster. It's just referring to him speaking to delay something, right? It's not a legitimate thing in a hearing. Well, I guess like, I don't know if you could actually get someone on it, but.
When in 2017?
A day or
the month.
an hour?
Month is
or
good.
A month?
Oh my God. He's trying so hard to run down the clock.
First met Hunter Biden in early 2017.
When? When in 2017?
A day or
The
an
month.
hour
Month
or
is
a
good.
month? I believe I briefly met him in New York, but I spent the first meeting I had extensive time with him was in early May 2017.
Okay, and that was around the same time that you had those 2 meetings with Joe Biden, right?
It was, but prior to that, I had numerous
look,
discussions
you have
with
said,
Hunter.
you have said
I had
that-
lawyers working through the documents that you're
Can I
asking.
please reclaim my time, sir? As I
Okay.
said, we have to move quickly here. Unfortunately, in your testimony earlier today, one of my colleagues asked you about that meeting at the bar, 45 minutes to 60 minutes. And you were also asked about that in your transcribed interview, and in neither of your answers did you mention any discussion that you had at that meeting with Joe Biden about the Chinese business venture. Yet, in grandiose terms here today, you have declared that Joe Biden was involved and that you have mountains of irrefutable evidence to support it. So let's look at the mountains of irrefutable evidence. You provided the committee with a screenshot of a text message that is between James Gilliard and you, dated May 11th, 2017. You see this? I don't know if you can see it. If you can't see, it's just you and James Gilliard, though, right? You remember this text message, I'm sure.
Generally, yes.
All right. And in it, Gilliard writes, "Man, you are right. Let's get the company set up, then tell H and family the high stakes and get Joe involved." And 2 days later, Mr. Gilliard sent an email to you, CCing Rob Walker and Hunter Biden, in which he suggested a division of the company and included a proposal of, quote, 10% held by H for the big guy, question mark. You remember that, right?
The infamous email with the big guy? Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
Did anyone ever respond to that email?
Yes, they did, numerous times.
Sorry.
Hunter
Did anyone
Biden
ever-
himself did.
Excuse me. You're right.
Well, no, I
Did
think
anyone
that's
e-
important because
Sir,
Hunter
did anyone
Biden has
ever
claimed that he didn't
Can you answer my
respond to it,
questions?
and he responded to it,
The-
I believe,
you're just
3
going to
times.
filibuster. I reclaim my time that's running out, but I will say no one responded to the big guy reference for 10.
Thank you
So
for making my
what-
point. They didn't have to respond
Right.
because
And
they
then,
all knew the big
sir,
guy was Joe
I
Biden.
reclaim my time. Mr. Chairman, please control the witness. I would like to get a little extra time, Mr. Chairman, because I want to read what Mr. Gilliard said.
Yes, there is an obligation to respond to questioning. You're under oath. You have to put your hand on a Bible and say, "I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God." Yeah, you have an obligation. Otherwise, you get held in contempt of Congress. Yes, there is an obligation, a legal obligation to answer.
To the Wall Street Journal, quote, "I would like to clear up any speculation that former Vice President was involved with the 2017 discussions about our potential business structure. I am unaware of any involvement at any time of the former Vice President. The activity in question never mentions about our potential business structure. I am unaware of." I would like to get a little extra time, Mr. Chairman, because I want to read what Mr. Gilliard said to the Wall Street Journal. Quote, "I would like to clear up any speculation that former Vice President was involved with the 2017 discussions about our potential business structure. I am unaware of any involvement at any time of the former Vice President. The activity in question never delivered and project revenue. 9 days later, the agreement without Joe Biden was signed. You and James Gilliard wanted Joe Biden involved, and that is why Hunter Biden dumped you and did the business
That's a
on his
blatant
own.
lie,
And
Mr.
I yield
Goldman. You
back.
know better.
Chairman's time's expired. Chair now
Jesus.
recognizes Mr. Higgins from Louisiana for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Bobolinsky.
He should have gone full Reagan.
Mr. President, may I also refer you just to the top of the second page of that document. It will reflect, you cannot mention this, but it will reflect for your eyes and ears who the particular individual was at that country. And ask if that further refreshes your recollection.
No, I know this man, of course, very well. Met with him a number of times in his own country. I don't recall, and I don't really know whether such briefings were given to others like the Secretary of State or not who were going to be meeting with these people. I don't recall
Well, that might not be a lie. He did have dementia.
seeing this, and as I know that that my policy was not to involve others in this. I mean, I wanted them involved, but I didn't want to be on record as doing it.
All right, guys. I love you guys very much. It's been a fun stream. I am desperate to eat some food. My head hurts because I have not eaten. So I'm going to raid you guys out, assuming we have, well, if you're on Kick, I'm going to raid you out. Tomorrow, wait, it says I have to have at least 5 viewers. I have 10 viewers. There we go. When is next stream? It'll be tomorrow. It'll be like around 2:30 to 3 o'clock CST. So my time right now is 6:17 p.m. So adjust accordingly with your clocks. All right. I will catch you guys tomorrow. Love you guys very much. I will catch you guys tomorrow. And I guess we're going to raid into Destiny because he's the only person I see that is live. Love ya. Do I cover non-political stuff? Yeah, all the time. But right now, like, politics is my passion, and there's nothing else interesting that I want to cover. So anyways, catch you guys later.